I'll start. So I'm playing Samir Croft, who is a Mandalorian and the officer of the group. He is a survivor of a battle squad from his planet, which was ambushed and taken out by the Empire. He's been running about the galaxy, joining various guerrilla squads, and eventually ended up with the rebellion and ultimately flying aces. He Most of all, that the thing that you may know him for is that he is a cautious officer because he once has lost all his comrades, and he has sworn never to do that again. So this is a pretty defining characteristic for him. I think that's all
Okay.
for now.
Thank you very much. And next we'll go to the heavy of the group, a reprogrammed Imperial droid, K2BG.
And just like John said, I'll be playing K2BG. He is of the type, quite tall. I think at least 1/3 taller than just your average humanoid. And K2BG is reprogrammed. He is no longer working for the evil empire and is now instead working for the people that almost treat it as a person. He's equipped for security duties and not much else.
Okay, thank you very much. And in addition to Samir, we have a second Mandalorian in the group, which is Mavi Fair.
Hello, yes, I will be playing Mavi Fair. I am, as mentioned, the second Mandalorian in the group, but I am more of a soldier opposed to an officer. My character has bounced around the systems trying to find a place where he can fit in and, more importantly, get involved in the biggest conflict in the galaxy. Not necessarily siding with either side, believing that the rebels have probably a better moral standpoint than the Empire. He has joined in that side, not really caring too much about the overarching battle that's going on, but after hooking up with the Flying Aces, his friendship with those characters is actually now more the tying and defining factor that's keeping him with the rebellion. So that is me.
Okay, and last but by no means least, we come to our plucky engineer of the group, Cassimy CPAM.
Okay, my name is Rob, aka the Swamper. I'll be playing Cassimy CPAM. She's a mechanic. Grew up patching up freighters, bounced around a lot. Eventually got her own ship, which the Empire came along and impounded. And so she was like, screw you guys, I'm joining the other side. And so she's now the mechanic for the Flying Ace.
Okay, thank you very much. So, we begin our session as you're all sat in the cockpit of your individual X-Wings. You have just jumped into the Zamael system. You blink for a few moments as the bright blue and whirring lines of hyperspace disappears behind you, and you see the blackness in front of you of the stars once more resume their normal position. You obviously check all your instruments out. You've been working together as a squad for a short while now. You check all your comms are working fine, etc. You can see you've obviously got your leader, Samir, sort of at the front as you're flying in like a wedge formation. The rest of you are behind. Following the coordinates given to you by the Rebellion for this ship that is supposed to have ejected this safety pod, perhaps containing the weapon, we don't know, down to the surface of Zamael VI. As you look ahead of you, you can see a strange ship that vaguely resembles one of these sort of YT model freighters. However, it looks a good deal older, although it's obviously been maintained in good condition. You can tell from the sort of lines of it that it's not quite such an advanced model. Now, if anyone has any particular skills that you think could be applicable, to see if you know anything more about the particular model of ship, perhaps you can make some sort of roll. I'll leave that up to you guys to decide whether you've got such a skill.
Well, I've bounced around on a lot of ships. I've seen a lot of ships, so I think it might be plausible that I know something about the kind of it.
Okay, yeah. So for you, obviously, it's probably going to be a mechanics role because you mainly know ships by the fact you've been like, tinkering with them and taking them apart, such like. So if you make me a mechanics roll, the difficulty will be 2 purple, so that's an average difficulty roll.
Second, it's
Yeah, no problem. There's no matter.
stalling a little bit on my character sheet. There we go. Mechanics going. Let's see.
Okay, so I can see from that you've got 2 failures and 3 advantages. So that means you don't know a vast amount beyond what I've already said about this model. However, because you've got those 3 advantages, I'm going to allow you to come up with one particular quirk or little factoid that you know about these sort of old models that might help you out in this situation.
Okay, so I'd like to suggest that I know that they each give off a unique signature, which we can track. If we know it, like we know, okay, just look for this signature and we'll know this ship is in the area, kind of.
Okay, so it gives off a unique signature, so it's more easy to track. Okay, so you're racking your brains to think of what this particular model could be, and you're not entirely sure. You think it might be one of the sort of predecessors of the YT model freighters. I mean, we're probably talking about from during the sort of old Republic days. That's how like, old this model looks to be. But you're not really sure of anything more. But then you remember that all of these sort of old Republic freighters, they hadn't yet sort of brought in the advanced hyperspace bafflers and shielding that came as standard on later models. So they tended to give off a lot of sort of excess radiation, not really harmful to people, but if you recalibrated your sensors, it's almost like a trail of breadcrumbs that you could easily follow back to its source. So I'll leave you to inform the rest of your squadron about that as you're zipping through Spain.
Okay, so I'm probably in the engine room area, and I'm gonna go on to
don't forget, you're all in individual X-wings at the moment, so.
Oh, my bad. I thought we were on a show. Okay, so I'm gonna flip open my comm and say, hey, "Yeah, Sammy. I think we might be able to track that ship. It's an old type, leaking a lot. It's got a radiation signature we can follow."
When you say leaking, is that dangerous?
Yeah, leaking. What? My comm's not working? My voice isn't great? What's the problem?
No, when you say leaking, is it dangerous?
I wouldn't dance near it, no.
Fair enough.
Now, you guys are obviously, you can see this ship is heading through space. It's turned away from the planet of Zamael VI. It's obviously heading to try and get a safe distance away from the planet, presumably so it can go into hyperspace and whoosh, disappear. You guys have sort of been like around the planet a little bit, you know, concealing yourself from its presence when you jumped in. But now it's over to you guys. You're each in your individual X-wings. You've got private comms between each other. You can communicate. What do you do, guys?
I think it's making a run for it.
I think we should stop it.
Yeah,
When you say stop it, you mean for good?
Disable the engines.
You know.
Yeah, we're supposed to find out what's in there.
Well, disable first, board later.
Okay.
All right, flying.
Show us how
Go
it's
for it.
done there, boss.
So while this chat is going on, I would like to activate my sensor devices on the X-Wing and scan the ship for life forms.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to ask you to make a roll for that because that's a standard thing you can do. You're scanning the vessel. Odd, but you're not registering any life forms at all. But quite clearly the ship is moving. Someone's flying it.
I think there might be another toaster on board.
Yeah, I'm not reading any life forms. Maybe a droid.
Typical.
Sorry, remind me. Do X-Wings have ion weaponry?
X-Wings have forward quad-mounted medium laser cannons. They also have forward twin proton torpedoes, which are obviously sort of one-shot deals. You fire them, you've then got to like reload them. Whereas the quad laser cannons, you can keep firing them.
Right, okay. Alright, Flying Aces will stop that ship. Disable the engine and any weapon that fires.
Okay, so who's going to go first?
Well, I'm not probably as not as good a shot as most of these people, so I'm just going to try and flank a little bit to, you know what I mean, to narrow its possible vectors of escape.
I understand. You're flying casual. I understand.
I'm going to give it the opportune 3 or 4 seconds for him to tell me to stop, and then I will open fire, trying to disable the ship.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Since you're firing ship's weaponry rather than personal weaponry, this is a gunnery roll. Now, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you the difficulty of it. The difficulty is 2 purple dice, but there's also a black dice in that because it's moving quite fast. Black dice are sort of setback dice. They're like situational modifiers.
Okay. Gunnery. Is gunnery in the general skills list?
It'll probably be in your combat
skills
got it. List.
All right.
You forgot to add the black dice in.
It should have been added. Now let me try again.
Right, I think just for going forward, I think what you have to do, guys, is if you like manually write in the number of dice, you have to like click out of that box before you like, click on something else so it can like update it. But that's absolutely fine. Okay, so you've got a failure, which means you haven't hit them. However, you've got 2 advantages. So although you haven't actually scored a hit, the act of you shooting has given you some sort of advantage. Have you got any suggestions as to what you'd like it to be?
Yeah, can it be that effectively I've shot and it's kind of grazed past them enough that they've had to make evasive maneuvers that will actually lead it into our path effectively? So it's actually stopping it from having to run. It's now just coming across in front of us.
Indeed, that's absolutely fine. So you see these bolts of laser fire lance out from the X-Wing of Mavi. Although the ship sort of swerves and avoids them, this freighter, you see that in order to do so, it has to actually like slow itself down, and it can't sort of carry on building up the speed, going in a straight line to get up to sort of hyperspace distance. So I'm going to say the next person who shoots at it, you will gain a bonus dice, which is the blue square one, to your roll, because obviously Mavi has sort of set it up for you. So who's next?
Well, I've got some piloting skills. Can I try and make a piloting roll to not to hit it, but to help further contain it for the guy who's going to shoot at it?
You most certainly can. Make me a piloting roll. The difficulty is 1 purple and 1 red dice, because I'm going to spend a dark side point.
1 purple and 1 red. Okay. Come on. Here, and then piloting. Big bucks.
Okay, so you've got
4 advantages.
You've got 4 advantages there. So basically what you can do is every 2 advantages equates to like a bonus dice. So I'm going to add 2 bonus dice to the
Perfect.
1 that Mavi has already got. So whoever actually takes like, the
Perfect.
next shot will get 3 blue bonus dice to their roll.
Perfect.
Because as you see this shot go off, you see the ship have to like evade it and make sort of like maneuvers to avoid the shot from Mavi, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. You zoom in, hitting the full afterburners, and almost sort of like skim along the skin of the ship, causing it to make a number of quick sort of turns, which overall sort of slow its progress down and set it up for your comrades.
Right, so I've sent a small burst of binary to our fearless leader as an acknowledgement of our engagement. And I'm going to be, after all this herding of the ship, I'm going to be trying to land the kill shot on the engines.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. So make your gunnery roll. Don't forget you have 3 bonus dice with this.
Yep. So
The difficulty is 1 purple and 1 red, because I'll use another dark side point.
Does the black still apply?
No, it shouldn't.
Okay.
You got a light side point if you want to spend it too.
yeah, I have a lot of bonus dice though.
It's up to you.
Mm,
If you think you can make the shot, make it.
yeah, I do have a fairly good gunnery though, so I think I'll try. I'll try without that. So
Okay. You still get 3
three
bonus
three
dice.
advantage and 1 purple, 1 red.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So here
Don't
goes.
forget to click out of the box before you actually click on the roll button.
Yeah. It should be fine. Let's see. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Yep.
Good shot, K2.
Okay, so you have 5 successes, which is more than enough to like take out its engines. That's absolutely fine. However, there is also a threat, which is like the negative equivalent of an advantage. So something has happened to like make the situation more complicated. So Johannes, if you'd like to describe how K2BG makes that shot and what the effect is, so engine blowing up, etc., I'll then tell you what the threat is.
I think because the rest of the group are pulling all these maneuvers, he's basically just speeding along in a straight line and calculating both with his instruments and his computer brain, just waiting for it's the Luke moment, right? So he has his targeting computer going beep, 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 and then he just waits for it to hit the center. And
you just sat there going, a little closer,
yeah,
a little closer.
yeah.
So you press the twin triggers as it lines up in the crosshair of your sensors. These bolts of quad laser fire shoot out of the cannons of your X-Wing. They strike smack bang on the engine on the back of the vessel, which, given that it's had to slow down so much to avoid the shot from Mavi and the maneuvers from Casimir, it's unable to avoid it. There is an explosion which would no doubt be horrendously loud if there were sound in space, but instead you have to content yourself with the eerily silent plumes of oxygenated fire that briefly flare out of the back of it before they're extinguished by the vacuum of space. You instantly see that, because obviously you guys are moving forward to like keep up with this ship, you instantly see that its speed just starts to drop off. Its engines are obviously out of action, and you know that without normal engines and getting up to speed, you can't make a jump to hyperspace. It's effectively dead in the water. Over to you guys.
Hey, nice shot there, KB.
Yeah, it's another burst of binary, which you probably speak. So he just basically it's the binary equivalent of a thumbs up.
Yeah, so across your comlink you hear like,
Which I hope my astromech translates for me.
okay, so I'm going to show you guys a picture of the ship so you can see sort of what it looks like.
Oh, hello.
I'm hoping you can all now see that. Okay, so as you're getting closer to it, with someone's horn beeping in the background.
Yeah, there's a there's a jingle in someone's background.
An attacking ice cream van, I think.
Yeah.
I'm
And I
sorry, that's my end. It happens like every other day.
It's fine, guys, don't worry about it. Okay, so you can see this freighter. I'm obviously showing you a map of it there so you can see what it looks like. You can see it has sort of like a distinctive round sort of shape at the back.
I don't see anything. Where am I seeing this?
It should be on your map screen, on your Roll20 screen.
On the map screen.
On your main screen, on your Roll20 screen.
Oh, sorry. I see. Okay. I was watching your guys' faces.
Oh, no worries, dude. Okay, so you can see this vessel. Now, it's pretty much dead in the water. You guys can approach it from any sort of direction. So if you guys click on the map and you hold down your left mouse button, it'll cause like a sort of expanding circle to head out. So what I'm going to ask is, are you all planning on like going in sort of like in a group, or are you all hitting different areas of the ship? Although technically I suppose this decision goes down to the commander. So Samir.
Yeah, if I scan the ship, do I get like this sort of schematic of it?
Yeah, you'd be able to get like a very rough layout. Obviously, you would know.
Okay, so what are our possible entry points?
Okay, well, you can see that there is an exit ramp here. It's marked number 12 on the map. So obviously that's made to be an entrance and exit, but that's pretty much the only sort of formal entrance and exit from the ship. Now, you could certainly grapple onto another part of the ship and blast your way through if that's what you wish to do. It's up to you.
I'd like to pull into do a few orbits around the ship, and I'm going to do the heaviest scans I can based on what's in the X-wing.
Okay.
And add this to my database of ships, since I didn't know that much about it when I first saw it.
Okay, can you please make
Like
me
my mental database.
Can you please make me a computer's roll? The difficulty is 2 purple. If you're trying to talk to us, Rob, you're muted.
Sorry, I got it sorted. I had my character minimized. Blah blah blah.
No worries.
I'll make.
I'm not John. I'm just very animated.
Oh, excellent. Right, now, you see that on Rob's roll, he's got a success, 2 advantages, and something called a triumph. Now, it'll probably help if a triumph, you consider it as like an uber success. It's just like a more significant success. Now, what I normally do when it gets to this sort of point is, like, if you were trying to shoot someone, I'd just turn the narrative over to you and I'd be like, yeah, they're done, just like narrate what happens in this little bit of the scene. However, because Rob's asking me, and Cassimy's trying to find out more about this ship, I'm going to tell you pretty much everything there is to know about this vessel. Okay, so as you're sort of looking at it with the scans, you're finally able to narrow it down, Cassimy. It's a dynamic class freighter. It was built by Core Galaxy Systems, and it was one of the forerunners to the YT series built by the Corellian Engineering Corporations. It was used extensively during the Jedi Civil War and later events. It comes equipped with a fairly light amount of armour, normally has a Class 3 hyperdrive. It was most often used as a freighter and a transport in the sort of old Republic era. The only real sort of thing that meant it caught on as a very popular ship was that it was very easy to customise this vessel and sort of add things to it and take them away from it. So that's pretty much what you know about it. Rob, I'm going to post a link in the chat on the Hangout window, which will give you all the information in the world on that ship in case you want to have a look at any more of it. But that's the sort of the clip notes version of it as you run your scanners.
Okay, so a question first. With such a good scan, did I also pick up on potential power sources, aka droids, that might be within the ship?
Okay. So, as you're running your scanners over the ship, you are picking up approximately a dozen small power sources that are moving around in the ship. You would guess that they are most likely droids. You're not picking up any biological forms of life whatsoever. You've also picked up the fact that one of the 2 escape pods on this vessel has already been launched. One thing does strike you as a little bit odd, though, Casimir, is as you're normally escape pods, obviously they give out a fairly high sort of power output because they have to have everything in for a person to survive an evacuation of a vessel, oxygen, maneuvering thrusters, etc. However, as you play your scanner over the remaining life pod, you're not picking up any of the normal sort of like life preserving equipment you'd expect to see. It's almost as though someone has sort of gutted this escape pod and taken everything out of it apart from like the maneuvering thrusters. Like there's no way like a biological person could use it to...
The remaining one, you mean?
Indeed.
Obviously. All right. So, hey there, Captain Sammy. Yeah, we want to be a little careful here. First of all, I got some specs on that ship. I'll send them over right now. I'm reading a dozen bots on there, droids on there. I don't know what kind of threat. Life support might be off too.
Lovely news. Well, we still need to get onto it, I guess.
Some kind of EMP weapon, maybe?
Are we packing any? Anyone?
No. No.
John, quick question. With our X-Wings, do we have like a docking kind of port or something like that where we can dock the ships?
What you normally have is you have like a magnetic grapple that you can use to like lock onto something, and then inside that there's like a tube that you can go through to join onto the ship. It's basically made so it clamps on, and if necessary it can like burn a hole through, and then it sort of seals itself so you can move through that tube onto the other vessel.
Okay. Sammy, permission to go aboard if you want me to, Captain.
Permission granted.
Cass, where's going to be the best place for me to go in here?
Well, I'll tell you what. You can do all the speculating for yourself here, and I'm going to send over information to his screen that shows the 12 moving dots on the ship, like these power sources.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, guys, is on the map, I'm going to make it visible to you, so you should be able to see the various droids that are on the ship. So just give me a moment. There we go.
Fight ain't my first love, but maybe that information will help you.
Okay, so as the information is sent over by Casimir, you see on your on all of you on your scans of this vessel, you see these little points of red light appear representing the droids that are on board. What do you do?
All right. Go ahead.
I'm gonna effectively announce where I'm going and say, like, I'm gonna go into the garage area. It seems to be the lightest protected on the ship. I reckon it could be a good beachhead for us to get in.
Okay, so you're heading into this area number 8.
Yeah, in there.
Okay, splendid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your token on the map, sort of in that area. I'm just going to resize it. Give me a moment. Okay, so you should now be able to see your token there, Mavi. I've put you on the outside, the exterior of the vessel to represent where you're going in. The rest of you, are you hanging back to wait for word from Mavi, or are you guys heading in as well?
I'm going to be, this is something that if we have worked for any period of time, the one in charge would have learned that K2 is, it doesn't have the requisite initiative to do stuff on its own that much, but it's very like passive aggressive in being like, standing by, Commander. Still standing by.
Before I even get the chance to like take a breath to answer, he's just repeating that. Okay. Kazami, would you mind sticking around the outside and just keep the sensors on the ship?
No, I was going to suggest the same thing there. I'm going to kind of monitor the repairs and see if I can keep their systems down a little bit more.
Perfect.
So while they're in there, John, I'd like to look for, or using my knowledge as well, vulnerabilities where maybe even like a very short space hop, I could like physically cut things or, you know what I mean, unhook things that might not be good for them.
Okay, the most obvious place, I mean, assuming that everyone on board is a droid, as you've surmised, obviously there is the engine room at the back here, which you know is like at least disabled, but a lot of the primary systems will be in there. There is a communications suite here near to the cockpit, which is area 1. So obviously if you took out communications, that would stop them calling for help. Obviously they can still maneuver a little bit at the minute, although you've sort of taken down the mainstay of their engines. They've still got maneuvering thrusters. It's not going to help them avoid you, but you know, they could try and make things a little bit difficult, which obviously if you took out the cockpit, that would stop that. They're the two sort of main sort of vulnerable places. Although you notice strangely they've not actually fired their weapons yet, and there are sort of 2 laser cannons on either side of the ship.
Yeah, well, I'm going to basically park on almost on top of them by the communications area, and I'm going to work to disable the communications in such a way I can repair it. Like I'm just going to take a key part out and put it in my pocket kind of thing. That's going to be my goal while they're on the ship.
No problem. I've put your token next to the communications area. So
and while he's doing that, I'm going to order K2 to follow Maui, and then I'll follow him myself.
Okay.
The 3 of us are just going to board through the garage area.
Okay, no problem. I'll move you both next to where Mavi is. Okay, so I'm going to just be away from the keyboard for a moment. Guys, please forgive me for this. I'll be back in a second.
I'm going to do the same then. Back in 1 second.
Ditto.
Still standing by.
Okay, guys, so before we start with you boarding the ship, I'm going to ask everyone to make an initiative roll. Okay, so what you need to do for this is an initiative roll doesn't have a difficulty. What you need to do is normally an initiative roll, it comes down to either your cool, if you're sort of taken by surprise, or it comes down to your vigilance skill. Now, if you're not taken by surprise, if you're expecting a fight. So obviously,
Sorry, I think it's the other way around.
Is it? Fine, we'll go with that then.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so if you guys all want to make me a cool roll, like I said, there's no difficulty.
I left my other dice on for the difficulty. My apologies.
Sorry, don't worry about it. I'm just going to set them up anyway.
Yeah, the roller is acting a bit strange. It added like 2 extra black dice to my roll, in the gunnery roll, for no reason. I had none selected.
Like I say, I think it's because you need to like click off that into like another box before you actually.
Yeah, I did though.
All right, okay. Like I said, it may just be a bug in the character. I don't know because I've not used it before, to be honest. But we'll just sort of muddle through as best we can. It's still better than having to roll them individually. So
yeah.
Okay, so
And it's not a huge problem. It's just weird.
we've certainly got K2 going first with that roll. Then we've got Casimir. Then we have Samir. Okay, Mavi. Sorry about this, guys. It's taking a little bit longer to set up than I originally thought. Okay. Right, so K2, it's you first of all.
Right. So are we breaching, or where are we?
It certainly seems to be the suggestion that you guys are going to breach.
Right. So I presume that we do just that. So there's a lot of sparks, I presume, and
Indeed.
smoke.
Basically, what you would hear is you hear the of this sort of docking tube extending from the bottom of your X-wing. You then hear the and you feel it more than you hear it. There's the vibration as it impacts and seals to the exterior of the hull. There is a sort of bright flickering of blue that as you sort of look down, basically between your legs down to the cockpit, where you can see the hatch, you can see the sparks as it's burning through onto the freighter. Then a few moments later there's a as it sort of links itself up and it seals off the atmosphere in the tube. A green light flashes on your consoles, meaning that it is now safe for each of you to use your docking tubes to enter the vessel.
So I would just jump straight in with my. I presume it's not like an integrated thing, my blaster. So it's not like a part of my arm.
Only if you want it to be.
Okay, well that's kind of cool. And I think it was that way in the movies, by the way, with this model.
Droid characters can have sort of items of technology sort of integrated into them by choice. So yeah, you're more than welcome.
Okay, yeah, well it's cool. So my hand basically just splits in two and folds back, and a long ass blaster rifle barrel extends from my forearm, and I slip into the tube to land in presumably at area number 8.
Indeed. So as you move into this engine room, you can see what appears to be a about human-sized worker droid, fairly standard model you might see on moisture farms and factories all across the galaxy. It has a single sort of photon optical receptor in its featureless face and a small grill where it can communicate mainly in binary. It just appears to be sort of looking at some equipment on the wall and occasionally presses a few buttons. It doesn't even like look up as you sort of like roll down this tube into the room next to it.
So I slam down and I blurt in binary, just threat of decommission. Do you comply? And I hold my blaster arm towards it.
You receive a burst of binary back to it, which roughly translates as, please give command access code at level 32C.
Would I know about this sort of thing?
You expect that that worker droids, they're not terribly smart. They're programmed to do like repetitive tasks, etc. But whoever programmed these droids has probably given it some sort of like command code, so you can only give it commands if you've got the right code.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for the rest of the guys to come up, but I'm basically just holding this droid at gunpoint, and unless it does something threatening, I'm just waiting.
That's absolutely fine. So we move on to Samir.
So at this point, I haven't exited my ship yet, I
That's
guess,
correct.
because I was waiting for it to dock. And unfortunately, I do not speak binary myself. But since I'm still in my ship, maybe if that exchange comes through my comms, is it possible that maybe my astromech translates that for me on the screen?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, because in that case, I would also like to check if this may not be a standard code. I do have knowledge warfare, and if this is a military code, I would attempt to recognize it.
Okay, make me a warfare roll. The difficulty is 1 purple and 1 red.
1 purple, 1 red. Sounds lovely. Do you guys mind if I use a light side point? We have 3 at this
Go
point.
for it, man. We have 3.
All yours, Captain.
Right. Maybe just justify that. We could say that Samir actually does make a point to review military strategies from the Empire side, and maybe this is something he may have come across before.
Makes sense.
Rolling now. Probably not.
Okay, so you haven't got any successes, but with your 2 advantages, you think it's some sort of imperial military code, but you don't have any other details on it. It's not one that you've studied particularly, which is odd because you know all of the sort of the main sort of imperial military codes, at least by name. This must be some sort of specialist arm of the military, which in itself is a bit worrying.
It is. Well, not wasting any more time, I'm going to jump out of the X-Wing through the tube and join the droid friend.
Okay, so you...
I'm also just for reassurance, pointing my own blaster at the droid.
That is absolutely fine. You slide through and land next to K2BG and see the scene much as I've described it. We're now going to move on to Casimir, who is sort of like... It's sort of basically like parked her X-Wing right next to the communication system.
Right. So my thinking is that at some point the shit's going to hit the fan and the droids on board are going to go into some sort of defensive alert, retaliation alert, something like that. So the first thing I want to do is disable the communications. And so I'm going to bring my ship up. Using my grapple, I'm going to like latch onto the ship physically.
Yep, that's fine.
And then with, I got my pressure suit on and everything. I open my hatch, hook a little thing on, and step onto the ship. And I'm going to overlook the communications tech. And the first thing I'm going to do is identify the part I want to take out and put in my pocket. But before I do that, I want to identify the sensor for that and disable that sensor so it doesn't alert them inside.
Nice. I see what you're saying. Okay. So you need to make me a mechanics roll. It's difficulty 2 purple.
Got it. 2 purple. 1, 2. Mechanics. Go.
Okay, so with your success and your threat, you identify the small sort of satellite dish that is used to communicate over long range. And you basically like cut through the wires, like you can detach it entirely if you want, but you've disabled it. However, as you are disabling it with the threat, you suddenly see through one of the small viewports. You can see that like red lights start flashing throughout the ship. You've obviously tripped some sort of warning. Those of you on board of the ship, or sort of like actually burning through into it, you hear this beep, 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 beep. And red lights start flashing all over the ship.
That's not much of a success then, is it? That was the exact thing I was trying to avoid.
Well, you've still stopped them like calling for reinforcements, so... Okay.
Fair to you. Yeah, fair.
So we're going to go on to Mavi. Mavi, you're just sort of like burning your way in. You're good to go when you hear this.
Noise or not, probably of little import to Mavi. He's just going to go straight through his tube, blaster rifle in hand. And when I get in there, I'm assuming I don't speak binary either. So I'll see them having a little bit of a droid back and forth, and I will just shoot the worker droid in the chest.
Okay, that's no problem. I'm not even going to make a roll for that because it doesn't have like any meaningful form of defense. or offensive capability. So describe how you shoot this droid and it falls to the deck, basically.
I say,
Does the droid have time to just at least look up and give a little what?
Well, it doesn't so much go what, but it does look up as Mavi crashes through onto the deck. You see the lens on its face sort of narrow, and then there's a and just like this gaping hole appears in its chest, and it just crumples to the floor.
little sad bleep.
Yeah, just like
Yeah. Effectively, I'll just slide through in one fluid movement, just put a shot in its chest, and just kind of turn to Samir and K2 and be like, what? If we need information from it, we can get Cass to look at it later.
It's got a point. Okay.
Good point.
However, you don't unfortunately have time to debate that point, as the two doors out of this room crash open and you see walk in what can only be described as they almost look like large robotic stormtroopers. Now, these quite clearly are prepared for combat. They're holding large weapons, so that they're sort of built in to the ends of their arms. These sort of like large like missile launcher, you think probably plasma cannons of some sort. Now, since you've taken a shot and you're obviously a threat, Mavi, I'm going to have one of them shoot at you.
So basically what you're saying is one of them was friends with the worker droid.
Well, yeah, friends, colleagues. I don't like to speculate.
You shot my paw.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see if this works.
Ow!
Okay,
It was
so
an honor.
you've taken 11 wounds damage from that. So what you can do
Oh,
is you can either update it on your sheet, or if you click on your token, you'll see a number of circles. The red is your strain, the green is your strain, the red is your wounds. Luckily for you, the blue is your soak. So because you have your Mandalorian armor on, you can ignore 6 points of that damage. So what you need to do is click on your token, and then if you click on the red circle where it says 17, you'll be able to type in like the new number of wounds after you've deducted.
Yeah. And I can reduce 6 from that, so I'm taking 4.
Indeed. And then if you press enter once you've done that, you'll see that the red bar on your character has altered and has gone down a little bit. And basically the way this works in the game is you have two sort of like hit point trackers, for want of a better term. Strain is like, oh, I've been like winded in like a fist fight or whatever, whereas like wounds is like, oh shit, a droid just blown my leg off. It is probably the best way to describe it. So the second of these droids, the one here, I'm going to have shoot at Samir purely because he's closest. So let me make that roll.
It's Mandalorian profiling.
Okay, so you would likewise take 11 minus whatever your soak is.
Holy. Standing.
Okay, so these doors crash open. These huge like, sort of droid stormtroopers, like they're about sort of like 7.5 feet tall, sort of clank into the room. They level their arms, which terminate in these menacing plasma assault cannons. There are these loud, like, of superheated plasma striking both Mavi and Samir. Now, your armor takes a fair amount. I mean, if you weren't wearing that armor, you'd probably be like a smouldering corpse on the deck. So we move on to K2BG.
Right. So I was about to talk about the fact that I wasn't going to shoot because that way we have the element of surprise, and then we are surprised completely by these plasma cannons. And then, well, my Terminator vision just like picks up these two targets, and I wheel around to shoot at this one.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. The one that's just attacked Mavi. So if you want to make your attack roll, it's difficulty of 2 purple.
Okay. let's see if I can get this right. So now I have nothing there, and I'm gonna put 2 purple. Okay, and then should be fine to just roll. Yeah. Okay.
You still appear to have the 2 black on your roll.
That's strange. I don't know why that is.
Well,
put
basically,
black.
all we need to do is take that into account. Is you've got 1 extra success and you've got 1 less of the threat. So you have inflicted whatever your damage is plus 5. So whatever the damage of your weapon is.
Yeah. So that's 15 together.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Just let me have a look at their soak. Okay, sorry, how much did you say you'd done?
15.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So you have shot this thing, you have injured it, or damaged it rather. However, it's still going. So describe how you take your shot, and I'll tell you how it reacts.
So, well, my gun arm twitches towards the door, and the barrel starts cycling a bit, and just a stream of last balls spews out, and I presume because it has armor on it, so there's just a massive steam bridge between my arm and its chest as I just unload into it, and it's still standing there, but my gun arm is smoking, and I presume that his armor is as well because it's absorbing this massive energy load.
As your blast impacts squarely with it, it reels backwards, and you hear a stream of binary as it reels backwards. You know, because obviously you speak binary, that effectively it's like its internal systems assessing the damage, so activating its auto repair systems, which means it must be a pretty advanced droid. You think that if you just left this thing now, eventually it would repair itself. But obviously it hasn't really got that time at the minute. It's sort of staggered backwards. Like you said, the steam hissing off the ceramic armoured plates on its chest. We now move on to Samir.
Okay, first off, what sort of cover do we have available in here?
There's very little cover, to be perfectly honest, in here. There's a few boxes, a few consoles, but nothing that's really going to provide much cover against these plasma cannons these robotic troopers are toting.
Okay, one more question. What distances are we talking about? So am I about short range from Bobby at this point?
Yeah, short range, yeah.
Okay, so basically, as the previous scene unfolded and these troopers entered and shot the 2 of us, now Samir, so he is obviously a tactician, and while his armor takes most of the damage, the dangerous portion of the damage away, he is quickly assessing the situation and is trying to come up with a viable strategy, because obviously without cover, these 2 seem to have an advantageous position. And I start moving towards Mavi to provide cover to him. So at this point I want to move to engage range with him and activate my bodyguard talent. So I take 2 strain, and I can upgrade any shot that targets him twice.
Okay, that's fine. So if you click on your token and then you reduce the number in the green circle by 2. So as you've taken your shot, Mavi, Samir moves across to effectively shield you and provide you with a level of cover, which, as he said, due to his ability, will upgrade the difficulty for anyone shooting at you in the next round. Okay,
right.
so
and I still have my action to take. So from this closer and somewhat more hopefully advantageous position, I also want to take a shot at the trooper.
Go for it.
The one that's closest to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing up my character sheet. What's my difficulty?
2.
2. Right, okay. Where are you? ranged heavy.
Okay, right.
That is sad.
Since you've got 2 advantages and a triumph, that is enough to destroy this thing. So, I'm going to turn.
I didn't actually succeed on the roll.
Well, a triumph counts as successes as well. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the narration over to you. You have killed this thing, so narrate what happens in that bit of the scene.
Okay, so basically I'm running towards Mavi at this point and sort of shielding / shouldering him out of the way of any further shots. And, well, my face cannot be seen under the helmet. Anyone who knows me would probably be able to imagine the very determined expression sitting on my face at this point. And I just shoulder my weapon, take very careful aim, and like where a stormtrooper's armor would be softer, such as throat, eye hole, stuff like that. I take aim and try to hit that, and apparently it goes down in a stellar way.
Indeed, you hit it in one of its vital and weakest points. There's a loud sort of hissing and crackling as sparks fly out of this robotic trooper. It lets out a stream of binary, which K2 will recognise it as basically its repair system saying that it's sustained too much damage to be repaired, and then it just collapses to the ground with a loud as it hits the metal deck. Okay, Mavi.
You skipped me.
Did I? I do.
Yeah, I was at the
I do
top.
apologise. Go ahead, Casimir.
No big. So what I'd like to do is I'll get back on board, detach, and then I'm going to go over to do a little sabotage on the weapon. I want to go by where the arm attached to the ship, so I'll fly my X-wing kind of underneath it or whatever.
Okay, so you're flying over
Latch
to
on
here.
it. Right, exactly. I latch onto there, and what I'd like to attempt to do is set up a feedback so that if someone fires the weapon, instead of firing, it'll send a feedback through and hopefully zap the firer.
Okay, now that's obviously slightly more difficult than just
Sure.
disabling it. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say your difficulty pool is 2 purple and 1 red.
All right. Let's go for it. Mechanics again, right?
Indeed.
Come on, the ducks. Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
That is absolutely fine. You have set up a feedback loop, so when anyone tries to fire it, the sort of the energy of the laser will actually sort of feed back into the area adjacent to the turret. So it will probably take out this gun and probably whoever's firing it.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, splendid. Mavi.
Right. Where being a proud Mandalorian, you would expect possibly me to be a little bit off-put by Samir's movements to kind of throw himself in front of the delicate damsel. Because we've been working together for so long, I know what he's doing, and effectively I'll drop to one knee behind him and point at the the droid that was coming in from the other door, and effectively just reflexively drop down to a kneeling position, a good solid shot, and then try and get off a couple of blaster rifle shots into it.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. The difficulty is 2 purple. Make your roll.
Right.
Okay, so you have done your damage plus 2.
So that is 11.
Okay. Okay, so you have severely damaged this thing, but it's still sort of like limping along at the minute. And you've got 2 advantages. So if you wished, you could describe some advantageous circumstance, and that would give whoever next takes a shot at it a bonus dice, if you wish.
So I get 2 advantages to take it, or is it 1 combined?
It's 2. You basically pay 2 advantages to get someone a bonus dice.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'll say effectively that I was aiming for the head of the droid, so effectively where all the sensors are and things like that, and I've effectively not taken it out, but effectively put some burns across the actual face of the droid, so it can't really see as much of what you'd expect to have coming in, and likewise it won't be able to see too much coming out.
Okay, so anyone who takes a shot at the first person to take a shot at this droid in the next turn will get a blue bonus dice, a boost dice. So we go on to the NPCs. Now, as you're doing this, Mavi, you've snapped off your shot. You can hear sort of like heavy footsteps and doors opening, sort of not into the room you're in, but outside it, sort of up here. As another one of these huge droids obviously goes like walking down the corridor, you can hear the like as it marches along. We're now going to do the one that's inside the room with you. It's going to take a shot at Samir because he is closest. So just make that roll. Okay, so it has hit you for 10 damage, Samir, minus whatever your soak is. As again, there's this sort of like hissing sound, and then a as its blast of superheated plasma is discharged towards you from the droid's cannon arm.
Just a quick question: if you go down to 0, is that instant death?
No, if you go down to 0, you effectively take a critical hit. Now, obviously, the more you've gone past 0, the worse the critical hit will be. And if someone like keeps having a go at you while you're on that, the critical hits will keep mounting up with like cumulative bonuses until it'll get to a point where there'll be a critical that will just say, no, you're dead.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I presume you've altered your wounds, Samir?
I have.
Okay, splendid. So we're going to go on to K2 now.
Righto. We don't have a live feed of the position of these droids on the ship, right?
No.
Like we can't actually see them.
No.
Right. Well, what K2 is going to do is position itself between the droid and Samir.
Okay.
And just like point blank auto fire is the heavy blaster into the droid.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Make your roll.
I presume I can't figure out why the black die comes up, but I'll just roll and see what happens. So I presume 2 purple.
Yeah, don't forget you get a blue boost dice as well.
Oh yeah, because it's blind. Yeah. Right. Okay. 1 blue, 2 purple, and here we go. Well.
Okay, so you have done whatever the damage of your weapon is plus 3.
Yeah. So 13. Yeah.
Okay, you have done enough to kill the droid. So describe how you take it down.
Yep. So he just walks up, all the while firing the heavy blaster into the droid, and stops at this now smoking pile, I presume, of debris that used to be the droid. And K2 turns back around. The gun arm is basically just a cloud of smoke, and there's something glowing red in there. And he turns to Samin and goes, "Do you require assistance? I am equipped with several medical protocols that you might find advantageous in this situation."
I could use a stim pack.
Okay, that's me.
Okay, so we're now moving on to Samir.
Okay, so does Katie have a chance to give me a stim pack at this point, or do I need to take care of that myself?
If he's just passing you over a stim pack, that's fine.
I don't actually have stim packs, but I could, if I had an action, I could go and make a medicine roll, but I don't have an actual thing to give you.
That's okay. I do have a few myself. Okay, so when I see that the trooper, the droid, has gone down, I'm just going to quickly reassess the situation. Obviously, I hear the next one coming, so I just loudly order everyone to take cover. I want to sort of, well, not really hide, but just take up a firing position somewhere here. So behind that door, I raise my fire to aim. So I want to aim so I can shoot better when I next get the chance. But before that, before I aim, I want to grab a stim pack and just jab it into my arm.
Okay, so you slap this stim pack onto yourself, and you feel this intoxicating rush of chemicals that as he's healing, and sort of like almost like caffeine plus sort of like chemicals run through your system, restoring 5 wounds to you.
Yes.
Okay, so Casimir.
Okay, so now that I got my little trap set up, I'd like to fly by one of the windows where I know, because I know the position of the droids, I'm tracking that. Fly by one of the windows where I know a droid can see me. And I'm going to flash a message, maybe in binary Morse code, whatever this. I'll program this into the computer. And the message basically says to the droid, your mother was a toaster and your father ran on Vista.
Okay, splendid. So as you fly past the window,
then,
which is sort of here, you can see in all of these robotic droids, these huge stormtrooper-like droids, walking down this corridor, and you flash this message up to it.
Yeah, and then I'm just going to basically make a juicy target. Go ahead, shoot me. Go ahead, try.
Okay, splendid. Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to Mavi.
Right, so we heard the footsteps coming down the corridor, but now go past the door?
Indeed.
Okay. Can we hear any movement from this kind of area? How do you ping the map?
You just click with your left mouse button and hold it down.
Yeah, from that area? Do we hear anything coming from there? Obviously, because he's stomping along this
Okay,
way.
you can hear some movement from that direction, but it's difficult to tell whether it's another one of these droids or whether it's just like the worker droids like doing their thing.
Okay, as that one's gone past, we can hear movement from here. I'm going to run through to this area and just say to Sammy, just kind of like, Samir, I'm going to go and make sure that none of these guys can sneak up on us.
Good, be careful.
Always.
Okay, so we move on to the NPCs. Okay, as you watch Casimir, you see this large trooper moves to the gun emplacement. The gun swivels around. You can see that it's tracking your motion. The huge robotic trooper with its one sort of hand squeezes the firing trigger, and there is immediately a loud explosion and sort of crackling of electricity in here, and you watch as the laser energy feeds back into this droid, overloads its system, and although it doesn't cause massive sort of external damage, it fries most of the sort of electronics inside it, and the droid just topples to the ground, the lights in its eyes going out.
Excellent. I will twerk my ship's ass in response.
Nicely done.
Good work.
Okay, splendid. Now, Mavi, you can hear footsteps approaching the door in front of you. There is a shh as the door hisses open, and you find yourself staring down the barrel of one of these large droid troopers' plasma cannons, and it is going to fire at you.
Oh dear.
Okay, you would be taking 16 wounds of damage from that, minus whatever your soak is.
Let's split up. We'll cover more ground. Okay, so I'm taking 16. So that means I'm taking 10. Which would put me to. Well, I'm not sure if I meant to say the number, but I'm not looking well.
Okay, so would you let out any sort of like exclamation or anything as there's this, and you feel this plasma bolt hit you in your chest?
I think it would be something not akin to a Wilhelm scream, to be fair.
Okay, so K2 and Samir, as you see Mavi go, right, I'm just going to go and check out what's going on around here. So right, there's a shk, shk, as he runs through the 2 doors. Then from just beyond it, you hear this. Okay.
So much for being careful.
K2.
Yeah, I'm gonna barge in after Mavi.
Okay, you charge through the
spleen.
you charge through the 2 doors. There's a shk shk as you run through them. You can pretty much see like Mavi sort of like lying on the corridor with this huge robotic trooper walking towards him, steam still issuing from the end of his plasma cannon arm.
I presume because it's not a huge ship. I presume. Can I step over Mavi and stand between? Yeah. So I'm gonna just step right over, basically face to face with the other droid, and I wonder.
Just step over Mavi. He was like, still like, it's all good. It's all good.
Still good. Yeah. Presuming I don't get massive disadvantage for firing my big ass gun right next to him, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay, go for it.
So, step over and open fire once more, and 2 purple.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we can ignore those threats because they came off the dice. So you've done what's the damage of your weapon plus 1?
11.
Okay, 11. So okay, so you score quite a solid hit on this droid. You see sparks and bits of its ceramic plating fly off. However, it still seems to be going. It doesn't appear to have like slowed it down any as it's sort of like marching slowly down the corridor. Mm-hmm. You can hear by the that its plasma cannon arm is charging up again.
Yeah, and I'm sort of turning like sideways.
Okay. Right, so we now go on to Samir.
Okay. So while Mavi and K2 are barging out those doors, I bring up that schematic that we found from the ship, and just leave it in like one corner of my HUD, just to have it as a technical layout. Now, I don't know that droid has been taken out by the cannon, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So basically, just given how wide those corridors are, I think if I went the same way, I would probably be hindered by my 2 comrades in the middle. So not knowing that the stormtrooper isn't actually there anymore, I'm going to take that risk for my friends and just go the long way around. So this way. So
Okay,
I can,
click on your token and drag yourself over there.
I can do that now. Perfect.
You should be able to.
Yeah, so basically I want to flank the stormtrooper to fire at it from a better position.
Okay, well, since you've heard the shots, it's no problem, and you've got the heads-up display, no problems working out where it is. You charge through the other doors, and as you burst into Area 3, you can see this droid sort of like slowly like moving through the doorway, like marching down the corridor towards where you assume your friends are. It doesn't appear to have noticed you yet. It's intent on like the nearest threat.
Okay, I'm going to haggle for this, but maybe can I get a boost die because like it's not expecting me from that direction.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You can have a boost dice for that.
Awesome. Okay, rolling them. Just 2 difficulty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Ranged heavy. There we go.
Okay, so you've done the basic damage for your weapon.
That is 9.
Okay, you have scored a hit on it, and it's done a small amount of damage, but it appears to only be sort of like surface level damage. You've not really damaged any of its interior works, and obviously it is now aware of you as your sort of like blaster slams into it. Okay, so we go on to Casimir.
All right, I don't think I can do much more harm from the outside, but I'm anticipating what's ahead, and I'd like to try and start working on either a hacking program or a workaround to get these worker droids to do what we want. It might be something I have to manually do, but I just want to try and figure out how to get around a security code.
Okay, now, you don't have to make a roll for this, but knowing what you know about these droids, normally, because they're fairly simple droids, they're almost sort of like networked together. So you think what you'd have to actually do is like get one of these worker droids. You could then effectively use it to access like the network they're all on, and you'd have to break the encryption to sort of like put your new directives into the worker droids. But you'd need to actually get your hands on a worker droid to do that.
Okay, so I'm just going to start. I can see all the life forms and stuff on board, so I'm going to just start undoing the damage I've done, but I'm not going to activate it again until we've completely won the fight.
Okay.
We're going to commandeer this ship, and then I want to be able to be functional. Right? Oh, I also want to see if there's a sort of transponder signal or some kind of identifying, little thing this ship has, and disable it.
Okay, oddly enough, as you search for a transponder, you find that this ship is entirely unmarked and unregistered, which is extremely odd.
Perfect.
All ships are required to be like registered and have a transponder signal.
Okay, well that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to
Okay.
start undoing my damage. We just about won this.
Okay, so we go on to Mavi.
Right, as I am laying on the floor, a smoking small amount of remains of Mandalorian, effectively I want to try and assume that as like K2's gone past, effectively I'm not considering myself out of the fight. I've still got some fighting left to do. I'll fix myself when it's done, and effectively try to grab hold of his waist and try and kind of drag myself in between his legs so I can shoot up at the remaining droid.
That's absolutely fine. It looks
Awesome.
odd, but it'd work.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so K2 is just sort of like walking past Mavi. He like grabs hold of sort of almost like your utility belt, so like around your waist, and is sort of like dragged along with you, like basically poking his gun like between your legs so he can shoot at the robotic trooper. Okay, make your shooting roll, Mavi.
Okay, difficulty?
2.
2 purple, okay.
He grabs K2 by the nuts.
Pretty much, they're utility nuts.
The battery.
Nuts.
Okay, so what's the damage of your weapon plus 1? It's 10, I believe.
10, yeah.
Okay. So you fire your shot. Again, you see bits of circuitry burst out of this robot. There's like electricity crackling all around the outside of it. However, it's still limping along, mainly held together by its emergency repair systems. Okay, so on to the NPCs now.
Do I get any advantages? Sorry, John. No? I mean, not as in to pass on, because obviously I've got 3 in the roll.
Oh yeah, you can spend your 2 advantages to give a boost dice to whoever next shoots at it if you wish. So how is your shot giving them an advantage?
Effectively, because it's at such a low angle, I imagine I've kind of knocked its like body, so it's looking up a little bit more. So it's again not really able to react as quickly as it would do normally.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So whoever next shoots at it has a blue boost dice. Okay, so since K2 is the largest threat, I'm going to have the robotic trooper shoot at him.
I have some defense, so I believe that upgrades his difficulty.
Indeed, what's your defense?
It's 1.
Okay.
Just want to pack my defense 1 as well. Should I have that?
That's spectacular.
That's an interesting result.
Okay, so what we have there is we have a failure, 2 advantages, a triumph, and a despair. So basically something massively unlikely has just happened. So what I'm going to say is you don't take any damage because obviously he's failed. So what happens is as this trooper droid is heating up its plasma cannon to shoot at you, K2, that's the moment when Mavi's shot hits it, and it hits it in one of its legs, causing it to sort of like go down on one knee. That happens at the exact moment it discharges its plasma cannon, and as it falls down, it basically blows a hole in the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately there's like a as the air starts being sucked out into space. So I'm just going to have to... We're going to have a little bathroom break there, guys. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, you guys might want to think about how you're going to stop yourself from like falling into space. Probably not quite such a problem for K2, because if he does, well, don't need to breathe, so he's grand. But you might want to think about what you're going to do about it, Mavi. But we'll be back to the keyboard in a few moments.
You're muted, by the way.
It's the problem with 2 mute buttons.
Yeah.
I am going to keep tight hold of your utility nuts. I'm going nowhere.
Yeah.
If you get sucked out into space, my injured self is not going to get myself back there. So
yeah, I wonder if I could just plug it, like with my torso.
just butts it.
Yeah, because I'm standing up, you're on the floor, and when the breach occurs, I wonder if we could just say that I just float up and just clang to the...
Nice.
We'll see what John thinks.
I'm going to bathroom break as well. Back in a sec.
Yep.
Yeah, if that fails, I'll try and literally just plug it with my ship, and then I get this one.
Plug it. This is getting more and more extreme. I love it.
Yep. And if that fails, you can try to rescue them with your ship because you're outside and you're ready to go.
Right. I was more than happy with this character to let you guys go in and do the boarding.
Yeah, the mechanic stuff is fun.
Actually, what sold me is John put in that she was sarcastic, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I got the voice for this." Get sort of Brooklyn accent.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Benford to get back, how are you guys finding the game so far?
It's fun.
I'm quite enjoying myself. I am quite enjoying myself. I guess the only over time when you got used to everything, it would get a little bit quicker. There's a little bit fiddly.
A lot quicker.
The story is great. The characters are great. So.
No, to be honest, the dice and those symbols are fairly unique and neat. I'm getting used to, but once you have that down, games flow like no other system.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I'm a little bit rusty on it, but I certainly know when I was more used to running the system, I'm just getting a lot quicker once you're all familiar with them. Okay, so, right, I'm going to say that now, we're effectively out of combat rounds, because Mavi and K2, as you watch, with the despair that the robot trooper rolled, being already somewhat disabled in terms of manoeuvrability, he is sucked out of the hole that he has just blown in the roof of the vessel. As you're watching, you guys, you can see that the doors that lead in to the area that you're in, you start hearing you see like a red light starts flashing on them. And obviously you guys have been on ships before. You'll know most of them have like an emergency protocol where if the atmosphere is breached, like the doors seal off that section to prevent like the atmosphere being lost from the entire ship. So since you guys are in the sort of like the hot seat, as it were, Mavi and Kato, and we're no longer in combat, I'm going to ask, what are you two going to do?
I have two ideas. First one, would it be... Well, it sucked out the Imperial droid, so I presume that it has the suction power to suck me out as well.
It certainly has the power to sort of like pull you out into space. The advantage you have, however, is you've got hands, and you've not just had one of your legs like pretty much blown off.
Yeah. So my first thought was, could I like plug the hole with my torso if I like made a conscious attempt to just like spread eagle on it?
Yeah.
Or maybe at least net it off, so like the atmosphere might still go out, but
yeah,
that's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to make me a brawn roll. So it's not a skill roll; it's just like a characteristic roll, and it's against difficulty 2.
Okay, I'm gonna use 1 light side point.
Yep. So
on this,
upgrade one of your dice.
Sure. There we go. Okay, I think we'll still have the black ones, but
it's fine. We'll just ignore them.
Yeah, and 2 purple.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Okay, yeah. Describe how you heroically plug the gap. The danger has passed, but also you're sort of like stuck jammed to this hole. So describe how that goes down.
Yeah. So of course it's fairly forceful when the atmosphere starts fleeing the ship. So the Imperial droid just flies out, and I think the suction power is like dragging me along the corridor. So basically what I do is I stamp down on Mavi so that like he doesn't get pulled out, and then I jump to the ceiling and try to clamp myself to the breach, and just like I basically do the turtle thing. I make myself into a patch.
Excellent.
For the hole.
So, from your perspective, Mavi, as you're sort of like still holding onto like the utility belt of K2, he's as you're both being like pulled up, he basically like kicks you in the chest, not enough to do you any damage, but enough to drive the wind out of you. And you're just like, what the fuck's going on here? And then you like see him like plug this gap with his body, and although you can still hear like a little hiss of air is escaping, the suction like completely dies off, and you sort of drop down a couple of inches onto the deck. Okay, we're out of combat rounds, guys, so you guys can pretty much just sort of like freestyle and go as you go.
As it's
so I'd like to. I'll just say I want to maneuver my ship to try and plug the hole because I would have seen this happening. I'm going to try and like physically just plug it with my ship.
Okay, that is not a problem. So as you're sort of like plugging the gap, K2, you see the X-wing belonging to Casimir sort of like move over and effectively like put its sort of grappling tube over the hole so that you no longer have to remain in the hole, K2, for it to be sealed. There is a pshh as your docking tube seals off the hole, effectively, Casimir, and you feel the suction on you, K2, just drop away completely. You are now free to remove yourself from the hole.
During the rigmarole between those things, after effectively I've been used as the kitchen step to get up to the ceiling and back to the floor, effectively I imagine that I'd find the whole scenario pretty amusing due to the fact that I've just seen one of my friends use himself as a human plug. It was a droid plug, and effectively I'll probably just kind of pained laugh, kind of and while I'm laughing just shoot the other worker droid in the corner.
Okay, just indicate to me which droid you're shooting.
This one.
Okay, no problem. You fire off a blaster bolt. It hits it and it goes and slumps to the floor.
So I'm assuming by that the bulkhead also opened up when the
indeed. Now the pressure has equalised. You see the lights on the bulkheads go green, and you can now use them as normal doors.
All right, so I'm gonna come sliding in out of the tube, like, and drop into the room.
Yeah, I'm standing there because I fell off basically when you equalized the thing. So I'm standing there and like blurting out some binaries, like doing diagnostics on myself, and then I go, "Oh, Casimir,
Looks like you had all the fun."
What just happened was very dangerous. There is a very high probability I should be scrapped at this point.
Yeah, fun.
Would you happen
Right,
to have...
guys, how are you holding up?
Yes, it seems that we have a near casualty. Do you have perhaps some medical equipment? I have some protocols that might be useful.
Not really. I mean, I bandaged people up once or twice when I had to, but yeah.
I never thought I would say this, but I think I trust the tin can in this situation.
I'm going to, the worker droid he destroyed, I'm going to go pick up, like, maybe the head, so this is the part I can try and, break my code, all that.
That's absolutely fine.
I'll let them heal and start tinkering with it.
Okay, so now, obviously you guys can use stim packs, but if one of you wants to make a medicine roll, you can also try and heal Mavi in a more traditional way.
Yeah, I presume we can do both, right? We can stab stim and yeah. So my thing is I have my like massive blaster in my right hand, that folds back into an actual hand, and my left hand peels back, and there's a horrifying Imperial like torture array that emerges with like screws and needles galore, and I sort of kneel down and start like looking over Mavi.
So effectively, I'm just going to went like I side with the tin can in this situation.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this scene horrified and trying to find back my itchy trigger finger at this point.
Okay, so I'm assuming, Mavi, that you have less than half your wounds remaining.
That is very true.
Okay, so it's going to be a difficulty 2 medicine roll for you, K2.
Okay.
Careful with those torture devices.
Yeah, I think
each success you get will heal 1 wound. Each advantage you get heals 1 strain.
Right. Okay. Do you guys mind if I use one of our 2 light side points?
Please do.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think this might go wrong if I don't. Well, I have 2 yellow, right? And that's all I have for medicine. So if I use a light side point, do I get a green one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And 2 difficulty. There we go. And then medicine. There we go.
Look at that. So you've healed 2 strain, not that you've taken any, and you've got 4 wounds back.
So yeah, as I lean in, and it's the like standard like close-up shot of this like sinister Imperial droid coming in with the needles, and I go, please do not be alarmed. I am no longer in the service of the Empire, and these tools have been repurposed into more beneficial ends. And I come in with the needle.
kind of in the process, I'm just like, just shut up and heal me.
Okay, so feel free to amend your wounds, Mavi, if you've not already done that.
I have done.
Splendid.
Yes.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, you guys are now in possession of the ship, and I'm going to ask Casimir to make a computer's roll to see if you can sort of hack into the command codes, the military command codes for these droids. I will tell you that the difficulty is 2 purple and 1 red.
Okay, before I make that attempt, I'm just going to look over at K2 to see if he's damaged. I can repair droids. I can't heal people well, but...
So what state would you say K2 is in at the minute then, Johannes? What would what would Casimir see when she looks at K2? How damage is
Did
it?
I actually take a hit in that fight?
I don't know.
Because I don't remember
No, you
taking
didn't.
one.
No.
Yeah. So basically, his gun arm is still steaming from all the rapid firing he did, but otherwise it seems to be fine.
Okay. Hacking away.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty amazing roll, to be fair.
I'm good at this.
Okay, so yes,
Yes, you
you have hacked in to the control codes. You can see that it's quite a high level sort of like military lockdown on these command codes. It's only due to your great amount of experience. I mean, even for you, it takes like sort of a good 5-10 minutes to like hack through it. For a lesser skilled hacker than you, it would probably be impossible. But you now effectively have the ability to basically control these droids, these worker droids remaining on the vessel.
Okay, so I've got this head in my hand. I got a plate open, and I've got like little micro tools, and I'm, tuck that behind my ear. Yeah. Okay. I got it. What do you want him to do? I say that to the captain.
Well, tell us what they know of the planet.
You say again? You want me to shut him off? What?
Tell us what they know of the planet.
Oh, okay. So first thing I'll do is upload their information. I'll do it to a display screen so everybody can see.
Okay, as you bring this information up, you can see that their programming was to pilot the ship into the outer orbit of the planet Zamael VI. They were then to load what is referred to in the records only as the consignment into an adapted escape pod. They were then to jettison it down to the planet's surface, which they have done. They were then to leave via hyperspace.
This is all pretty stinky, Captain. I mean, no transponder codes on the ship, modified escape pods. This is a real special Empire kind of stuff.
Well, we had that rough idea. So what is this consignment they are talking about?
Well, I'm assuming that's that weapon we were looking for, right?
Well, do they have loot for it?
It's referred to, Casimir, only as the consignment. However, you can tell that whatever it is, it must have had a humanoid form due to the arrangements they'd made to adapt the escape pod, although all of the sort of life support and everything was taken out of it, so it must be a mechanical of some kind.
That's where the missing escape pod is. We should probably try and find that.
Oh, we should. All right. So I ordered the team to just quickly search all the cargo holds, any potential crew quarters, all that, just to see if there's anything that we can use that would tell us more about what awaits down on the planet. And once that's done, whether we find anything or not, I order everyone back to the X-Wings. And we go find that.
X-Wings? Let's take this ship. It's ours now. Besides, mine's plugging a hole.
Fair point.
Okay, so
does the ship's computer have any record on the trajectory of that pod, the escape pod?
you can see the escape pod was programmed to land on the surface of Zamael VI, just outside the capital city, because it's like an industrial hive city. So much of the surface of the planet is covered in these toxic industrial clouds. Most people live within these huge sort of towering hive city structures. This pod was programmed to land sort of like in the wasteland just outside the capital city.
Okay, so how about we check the landing area?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Okay, so I'm going to ask anyone who is searching the ship, can you please make me a survival roll, difficulty 2?
Survival?
Indeed.
Okay.
That goes
I'll
back
look
there.
around. Difficulty 2.
Yep.
Probably start in the medical area as well, just to see if there's any extra stims and stuff in there.
I failed a survival.
Okay, so we just need K2 to make a roll now.
Oh, well, I presume if someone like actually specifically told K2 to look for stuff. Survival. Okay, just a minute. Oh, that's streetwise. There we go.
Okay, so as you're searching around, the rest of you don't find anything in particular as you're looking through the ship. However, Mavi, as you're sort of wandering around searching the ship, you enter into this sort of chamber here, which appears to be a medical bay. And as you're sort of looking around in it, you find what I can only really describe as like a cylinder of sort of like pink plasticky like goo, almost like silly putty.
Okay, I'll walk out holding it.
Okay, you walk out with this cylinder. It's about this big. You can see it's got like its own sort of like little portable power generator. There's a medical diagnostic readout built into it, but you're not really like a medical person, so the data doesn't really mean anything to you, and it's made to be read by droids. It's all in binary. But yeah, you carry it out. You can see occasionally as you're sort of holding it, there's like a bloom, and this sort of like goo inside it just sort of like bubbles a little bit.
Nice. I think I'll just hold it up to Zamael and say, Zamael, I've just found this in the medical center, and just give it a bit of a shake.
Okay, as he gives it a shake, I carefully step away.
Yeah, again, it sort of bubbles and like, but it doesn't cause like any explosions or anything untoward.
Okay,
Do you think it's medicine?
I don't know. Care to try out?
At this stage, I'm thinking about it.
Just secure it somewhere. We'll give it to the eggheads back at the base.
I will go back and put it where I found it.
Okay,
Good
no
call.
problem. That's all you really find that's noteworthy on the vessel. It appears that most of the rest of the stuff appears to have been stripped out, since obviously there was no biological crew that required things, so the rest of the ship's pretty deserted, to be honest.
Can I spend a little bit of extra time searching the port dormitory, specifically one of the beds, for about 10 or 15 minutes with a stim?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Have you got a stim pack you're using?
I don't know. Where would I find
It would be
one?
on your equipment list on your character sheet if you have it.
Okay. Probably not. If not, I'm just having a lay down.
Okay.
I don't believe I've got anything in my...
Let me just have a look on your character sheet and I'll confirm that for you. Item inventory. No, I do not believe you have any stim packs.
Then a lay down it is.
Okay, so how about when we just talked like a minute ago, I probably noticed on his posture, that he's not holding up so well, and I just hand him a stim pack.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So Samir has given you a stim pack, which you lie down on one of these beds in the dormitory, you inject it into your thigh, and you feel this rush of revitalizing and healing chemicals flood through your system. You can restore 5 wounds.
Thanks, Samir.
Most welcome.
Okay, you have the ship, guys.
I'm going to head to the engine room, make sure all my, sabotage was undone. Head to the engine room, familiarize myself with these particular controls and mechanics.
Yep, no problem. You head to the engine room. There's a couple of worker droids in there, but since you effectively have control over them, you can actually get them to sort of like show you how this particular engine works, etc. You don't think it'll be any great problem for you?
Okay, so I've got a data pad, and I'm basically going to have a little short-range Wi-Fi where I'm like, okay, droid, show me this.
Yep,
I punch in my commands and they do it.
Yep. You get them to sort of like give you the guided tour of the engine room. Yeah, you're 100% sure you know how to work this engine and the equipment in here. And to be honest, if you didn't, you could just tell the droids to do it for you.
Yeah, but I like learning that kind of stuff. So, okay, Captain, I'm ready here when you are.
Right. I'm going to order whoever's the best pilot to just take the helm and take us down.
Okay, which one of you guys is the best pilot?
4 green. I don't know if that's me then, or not.
Can anyone
Better
be?
than I am.
Also 4 green.
Okay, so you know that
Yeah.
Mavi and K2 are about sort of like the same level of piloting efficiency, although Mavi's like lying on a bed at the minute being like, ugh, stims.
Okay, knowing that, I'll just ask Kate to pilot us down onto that side.
Are you saying that over comms, I assume?
Yeah, you'd all have like internal comms you could speak
Yeah.
to each other.
Effectively, I'll get myself out of bed and I'll be like, I'll co-pilot for him. I'm okay.
Okay, so if you two want to move yourself up to the pilot area, which is area 1, so here. There are 2 worker droids there, but since they've been effectively programmed by Casimir to like follow the orders that they're given, you just sort of like jerk a thumb and be like, out, and they just leave the room and stand in the corridor outside. The controls look fairly standard for a freighter. They're a little bit old and antiquated, but...
Okay, while they're doing that, I'm going to point my gun at those 2 droids that just left the cockpit and lock them into a cargo hold or something.
No, I got it. I'm gonna basically command them to join me in the engine room because I got control over all of them now. So they're all gonna.
Ah, sure. Okay, that's better.
Yep, those 2 droids march to join you in the engine room.
All right, so I got an engine staff now. I got a mechanic staff now.
Indeed you have. Okay, so K2 and Mavi, you're at the controls. What's the plan?
Did we have a destination?
I'll go over comms as well, actually.
Yeah.
Just,
That spot on the planet where the thing landed.
have we got engines
Yes.
on the game, Cass?
Yep, you're green, all green.
Yeah, and indeed, as Kaz says that, you look across at the dashboard and you see all the lights that were sort of like on red when she'd previously sabotaged them, all sort of flicker to green, and you get like the good to go come up on the computer readout.
Cool. Effectively, I suppose I'll just start running through the pre-flight checks and help K2.
Off to the coordinates.
Okay, so you backtrack the coordinates of the vessel to the planet of Zamael VI. As I said, it's a sort of hive/industrial planet. As you get near, you can see a thick layer of grey industrial pollution, smoke and smog hangs thick just below the atmosphere. Looking at the readouts the 2 of you are getting from the sensor display, you can see that the atmosphere on the planet, on the surface, is extremely toxic.
Well, I needed the location anyway.
Reminds me of home.
I'm gonna send at least a couple of the droids to go patch that hole up. Then I don't want atmosphere leaking in.
That is absolutely fine. You send a couple of droids and they begin dutifully patching the hole.
What happens with our X-wings at this point? Are they just kind of like handbrake on?
Yeah, they're effectively just like grappled to the hull. So as long as nothing detaches them, they'll just be carried along with the freighter.
Excellent.
Okay, so I presume are you planning to go into land on the planet? Are you going into orbit? What are you planning on doing?
I would presume land, but really waiting for Sammy to follow?
Well, go to landing area, scan first, land if we can.
Right.
Okay, and at this point, Samir, as I said in the build-up at the start of the session, you were given a passphrase that you could use to identify yourself to Governor Moss as agents of the rebellion because he's sympathetic to you. I'm going to ask you, what was the passphrase that you were given?
I don't remember.
No, I haven't given you one. You can invent one.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It'd just be a short sort of sentence or something like that.
So this person is basically an imperial governor, or
Yeah, it's the planetary governor of Zamael VI, but he's sympathetic to the rebellion, so he tries to sort of funnel funds and goods to them when he can.
okay. How about the passphrase is "Glory to Moff Tarkin."
Glory to Moff Tarkin. Okay.
He's been dead a few years at this point, but you know.
Okay, so the passphrase to identify yourself to Governor Moff is Governor Moss, glory to Moff Tarkin. Okay, so guys in the pilot seat, are you taking it down?
Yeah, scan first, I presume, and then land.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as I've said, you scan the planet, you can see the atmosphere is extremely toxic.
Yep.
Although breathing it wouldn't be a problem for you, Katie. You think if you stayed out there too long, it's so like acidic, it would start sort of eating away at your circuitry. But obviously, by the time if you all were unfortunate enough to be out unprotected on the surface, by the time it started like eating you away and causing you problems, all the rest of your friends would be dead.
Yep. Soup.
Indeed, yeah. It's extremely corrosive.
I have information on the remaining escape pod, so I'm going to send the information on. I can send very specific information on what we're looking for.
Okay, so as you send this information to your comrades, it appears that this escape pod was sort of like a spare in case like the first one failed. And what they've done is they've taken out all the life support and everything, but they've put in like quite a large power cell. So whatever this consignment was must require an awful lot of power to run and would therefore probably have a large power signature.
Looks like we're looking for a droid with a big power signature. Valuable to the Empire, which means we want it, and we don't want them to have it.
Okay, so that's what your scans have told you. So what's the plan, pilots?
I'll kind of gesture to Katie and it's like, I think it's time to bring it down.
Yeah. So basically, the best spot on this hellhole planet to land down.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to ask you to make me a piloting planetary roll. I know you're in a spaceship, but you're bringing it into orbit. You're trying to land on an actual planet. Now, I'm going to say that the difficulty for this is going to be 2 purple and 1 red due to I'm upping this due to the pollution in the atmosphere.
Yeah. Guys, I'm going to go with a light side point because I don't want to crash.
Agreed. Can I actually add anything to the roll by helping as the co-pilot, or is it just a...
Yep, since you're helping, you can add a blue boost dice to your roll at K2 because Mavi is monitoring the controls and sort of guiding you in.
Right. So 2 purple, 1 red, right? And
1 blue boost dice.
1 blue boost dice. Okay. I think I have everything now. Yep. Okay. So piloting planetary, not like there's a difference. I have the same in both of them. But shit. I still succeeded though.
Indeed, you do succeed. However, you have also got a despair. So what I'm going to say is, you're trying to land outside the sort of like roughly where the escape pod landed. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So you bring the ship down. it's being jostled and buffeted by the high winds that are whipping through the atmosphere and across the surface of this planet. You can already see like a couple of sort of warning lights, not sort of like you're about to die warning lights, but lights that are telling you that if you leave the ship too long in this like toxic sort of greeny grey soup that's swirling around the surface of the ship, it's going to start eating away at the ceramic plating of the vessel. You bring it down, you land it on the surface. However, as you're landing it, in the area where the worker droids did the sort of quick repair on the hull, you hear like a bung, 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 as obviously they've patched it with whatever was to hand, and you don't think that's going to hold up very long against this toxic atmosphere. Obviously the rest of the ship's covered in loads of armour plating, but they've just sort of like patched up this a little bit, and it's already starting to get eaten away by this incredibly toxic atmosphere.
So I go on our group comms, and I go, please be advised, hull integrity not sustainable in this atmosphere. The hull breach will be breached, and then he pauses for a while. Again.
Better be quick about it then.
To delay things, I'm going to leave 2 of my staff on just constantly repairing it as they can.
Yeah, that is absolutely fine. Okay, not a problem. So you've brought the ship down to land, and in the distance you can see the huge towering form of this hive city rising up beyond this toxic soup of an atmosphere. Tankin City, the capital of Zamael VI. The topmost point of it stretches up to almost touch the lower atmosphere.
That looks impressive. So how far away is this?
I would say you've landed relatively near, given the successes on the piloting roles. So it's not going to be a massive walk, but any walk in this sort of toxic atmosphere is potentially dangerous.
How hard would it be, considering we've already landed, now to just kind of like dust off again and land in a better position, maybe somewhere outside of the poisonous smog zone?
Well, unfortunately, the poisonous smog pretty much covers the entire surface of the planet. Now, you could try sort of like landing on one of the docking ports on the actual city, but obviously if that was the case, you'd have to sort of provide docking permits, etc. You'd have to like give your IDs. I'm not saying you can't do that, but there might be some unfortunate questions asked.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what's the plan, guys? As you look out through the visors on your ship, the vision slits, you can see this soupy, browny, grey-green smog outside. You can see that there are just a few twisted, sprouting, like wasted remnants of trees. The rest of the surface appears to have been scoured of all life, aside from this huge grey and steel hive city rising many hundreds of miles into the air in front of you.
Do we see the escape pod?
You can't see it exactly where you are because of the thickness of the smog outside. From all what your senses are telling you, you should be very near it, but you'd have to actually go outside to like look for it if you want to actually locate it.
If you wish, I will be able to do a recon run. I am somewhat concerned of your biological integrity should we go outside.
Thank you, K2. You better do that.
Right.
Can I rig up like sort of an armor umbrella that they could take with them? That, I mean, it would maybe not last long, but 10 minutes of no damage is 10 minutes of no damage.
You think what you could do is you could take some of the parts from the ship and you could effectively like reinforce the armor plating on the outside of K2. Like you say, it wouldn't last a tremendously long amount of time, but it might be enough for him to get out, have a look, and get back without taking any damage.
Okay. So, KB, come see me before you go on that little walk for yours.
Okay, so if you'd like to make me a mechanics roll, difficulty 2, please, Casimir. Okay, so when you go outside K2, as Casimir's not reinforced your armor plating, when I ask you to make a roll to see if you take any damage, you will get 2 boost dice to it to represent the extra armor plating. So, are you bravely stepping out, K2, or?
Sorry, in the meanwhile, while he's being reinforced, my helmets have like pretty sophisticated scanning equipment, because that's most of the attachment that's inside, optic suits, scanners, all that. I am trying to work those and pinpoint where the escape pod is, just so K2 can find it quicker.
Okay, make me a computers roll, difficulty 2.
Difficulty 2, just a sec. 2 and computers. My computer skill is pretty lacking, but here it goes. I'm sorry.
So I'm going to say you think that unless he was actually sort of like, unless you went out there and used your helmet to actually look for it, or you gave K2 your helmet, or found some way to like link your sensors into his sensors, he wouldn't really be able to make use of like the goods that you're packing.
That latter, linking of my helmet to his sensors, could Kazami take care of that as well?
You can try.
Okay, so I'm not going to make you make another roll for that, Casimir, because obviously your leader has the sensors and all of that, and you've already sort of worked out that you can like reinforce K2. So I'm going to say that's going to add an extra boost dice, so you'll have 3 boost dice in total when you when you make your roll to see if you take any damage, K2. So as you're sort of being linked up to this helmet with all this like equipment in, effectively you're sort of like you're sort of overclocking it, Casimir, to sort of like run this increased power of these sensors through K2's like normal sensors. So it doesn't improve it as much as if you were wearing the helmet, but it does give you a little bit of a boost. So K2, I think it's over to you.
I've been tuned up. I'm ready to go. And was there a ramp on the ship?
There is, yeah.
Yeah. So probably the airlock closes and K2 gives a thumbs up through the little window on the airlock. And presumably the ramp goes and immediately probably everything inside the ramp room goes as well as being poisonous.
Indeed, you see this up. It looks so thick; it's almost like you could cut it with a knife. Just this wall of green-grey smog in front of you. As you step forward, you can already hear like the surface of the extra armor plate, and you've got some sizzling and hissing as this incredibly acidic atmosphere starts eating away at it. Now, I'm going to ask you to make me a resilience roll to see if you take any damage while you are searching. The difficulty is 2 purple and 1 red.
2 purple, 1 red, right?
3 boosts.
Indeed.
Resilience. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now I found it. So 2 purple, 1 red, 3 boosts, and I might use a light point again.
Okay.
3, right? Okay. So here goes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You only take 1 wound as you're searching around the outside of the vessel, as some of the smog gets into your inner workings, but thanks to the additional protection and the improved sensors, you're able to quickly locate this escape pod. You can see like the top of it, the sort of doorway is like blown off it, as it's designed to do when it lands. You can also just make out some very heavy sort of human looking like footprints heading away from the escape pod towards the city.
I presume I can send footage from like my optics to the ship.
Yeah,
or...
you're linked up
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
your leader's sensor array, so you can certainly do that. And to be honest, the escape pods, because it's had most of the stuff stripped out of it, if you want, you could fairly easily like pick it up and carry it back to the ship.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I presume everything inside is already corroded to hell anyway. But yeah.
It's pretty corroded. However, there is still a lot of the machinery inside it's quite well shielded. I mean, technical expert yourself, but perhaps Casimir might be able to sort of get some goods out of it.
I grab it, I lift it over my head, and I follow the tracks a bit to see sort of where they're going. I don't go all the way, but...
Okay, they seem to be heading in a straight line towards the sort of city, this huge hive city. They're moving with quite a sort of relaxed, like, sure pace. So as you're looking along the tracks, you find what appears to be a small blob of a similar, like, pinkish-like goo next to the tracks. Only about sort of like that big. It's like a little like droplet of it. You can see that the atmosphere is already like eating away at it, and it's like shriveling up and dissolving.
If I jab one of my torture devices into it, can I use my medicine to sort of do a quick analysis on what it is?
Yep, make me a medicine roll. The difficulty is 2 purple.
Let's see, 2 purple. Okay, 2 purple. Ooh! What is up with these? Nice.
Wow.
Okay, so as you're looking at, I'm going to say the despair is basically you're not going to be able to take it back to the ship with you because it'll have dissolved.
No, it's 2 triumphs.
Oh no, you've got 2 triumphs and 2 despairs, so 2 threats.
Isn't that threat?
Yep. Okay, so you analyse the sort of small bit of goo, and you can see that it appears to be some sort of partially biological, sort of like skin substitute, almost like a bit like synth skin, used to cover like horrible sort of injuries, but it's of a far sort of higher grade. It's been almost like sort of engineered with technology you can only sort of guess at, really. But it also appears to have some sort of like minor mimetic properties. So you can see that as it's being eaten away by the gas, the actual sort of like the DNA, if you wish, the structural makeup of this skin substitute, it's trying to adapt to sort of like, so it can survive in this sort of corrosive atmosphere, but it's not doing it fast enough to compensate for the fact that it's being eaten away.
So back at the ship, you're going to be seeing like one of the screens in the cockpit. With my feeds connected to it, there's probably like a rolling diagnosis feed of my medical ideas about this thing, and you get what I learned about that from there. And then I conclude that this individual went to the city, and I carry the pod back because I need to get going.
Okay, so about 10 minutes later, you arrive back at the vessel. You've got this escape pod. You get yourself on board, get it all flushed out, etc.
Yeah, and I'm standing there. Probably these extra plates just like popping off me from the corrosion.
We'll hose you down. Once I've hosed the device down, whatever's left of it, I'm going to take it back to I'll probably have one of my staff carry it back to the mechanics area where I can, engineering where I can take it apart, learn what I can from.
Okay, make me a mechanics roll. Difficulty is 2 purple. However, there is going to be 1 black dice to represent the fact that it's partially corroded. Okay, despite the extreme corrosion on this sort of computer array, you're able to pull a lot of information from it. It would appear that there was some sort of experimental Imperial assassin droid on board the ship. From what you can tell, you can't get the details precisely of its programming, but it's programmed with high-level assassin and infiltration protocols. It also has pretty much everything that's publicly or imperially known about Governor Moss has been downloaded into its database. It also appears to have some form of mimetic synth skin covering that allows it to sort of blend in with biological organisms, but because of this, it needs a huge supply of power to run, so it would have quite a high power signature.
So I'm going to transmit this information to all the workstations, everybody's display screen. Heads up, everyone. Looks like we got us a walking, talking murder bot here. Heavily disguised. Maybe out to kill the governor.
Lovely news. So this...
Is it really?
The Sinskin, is this the pink stuff that we found?
It certainly seems likely, given the analysis you're receiving.
And K2, if you took the analysis that you already provided and cross-referenced it with maybe another analysis with the stuff that we have back in the medical area, could you come up with any further information, anything that might help us?
John?
Okay, make me a medicine roll. Difficulty 3.
I might be able to track a power source. I mean, a mobile power source cranking out that kind of power. Could track it, maybe.
No. I know all there is to know about that.
Sad. I was hoping for something. Okay, okay, Kazami, you're our only hope left.
Effectively, when the murder bot,
make us a device that can track it.
when the murder bot effectively thing was mentioned, I made the assumption that we're going to have to go outside, so I straight away just kind of like sigh and start fixing my armor, the holes that were causing the combat.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and come up with some way of looking for very powerful mobile power sources, right? There can't be many that are in motion.
Okay, yeah, you are able to. I'm not going to make you make a roll for it because you found the information. You're able to rig up like a portable scanner. It's fairly short range because if you try and make it longer range, the sort of large geothermal power plants that are no doubt running that hive city will interfere with the readings. But you're pretty sure if you get within about sort of like 50 meters of this thing with this scanner, you'll be able to, no matter what it looks like, you'll be able to like home in on the power reading.
Okay, Captain, I got something here. If we get to within about 50 meters of it, I think we can find it. The trick is figuring out where it went. Now, we know it's an assassin, and we know the Empire isn't going to dick around with lowlife, so they got to have a high-profile target in mind, and I'm guessing it's the governor. I think we should find that governor and protect his ass before this murderbot shows up and turns him into a pile of meat goo.
Solid call, we'll do that. Right, okay, so basically with our ship, like half, but how damaged is our ship at this point? Like, can we take it to fly into the city, ask for like proper landing permissions?
You could. It's not so damaged that you couldn't fly it to one of the sort of dockyards on the outskirts, on the outside of the actual hive city. Obviously, in terms of like docking permits and ID, as you know from what Casimir said, this ship doesn't have a transponder code, which is very suspicious, and you guys don't really have any docking permits, so that would potentially be a problem. But in terms of the actual just getting the ship to the docking port, that's not a problem at all. You can easily
but in terms of getting in, we'll probably better walk.
You certainly you draw less suspicion than if you just sort of like pulled up in a big ship that was sort of like a sort of like black ops, like unidentified ship. But obviously, if you do that, you've got to then trudge across the distance to the hive city, and whilst that's going on, you'll be exposed to this corrosive atmosphere, and you've already seen what it did to the extra armor plating that was dropping off K2 as he came back in, and he doesn't have to breathe.
That, and we have got like 4 X-wings strapped to the outside of this ship, which could be difficult to explain.
Yeah, it's probably going to raise a few questions, I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, seems like going outside route could be a little tough. Maybe.
Yeah, but seems like the staying inside.
Bullshit. Yeah, we got to come up with some good bullshit plan, maybe, to bluff our way past. Get to the governor. Use that password.
John, can I have a look on the? I'll go back to the co-pilot station effectively and have a look on the scanners and see if I can find a place that's not too far away that we can park, like one of the outer stations that maybe has like, I don't know, an acid bus route that we could maybe take to get to the actual main city or something along those lines.
So you're basically looking for somewhere where the pollution's like lower, so you'd have an easier time to get to the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, like if
or nearby parking lot, underground parking,
like a smaller settlement or something that's not part of the main city.
Okay, unfortunately, as you scan the area, you can't find any signs of smaller settlements. You are registering sort of like many hundreds of miles away. There are other hive cities on the planet, but you would guess due to the corrosive atmosphere that pretty much all the population of this planet lives in this hive city. However, you are able to find a few sort of areas where the pollution, due to like the prevailing winds and the lie of the land, etc., is a little bit less. You'd still be in danger of taking damage, but you'd be in less danger. The one thing that the pollution does have in your favour, though, is you could pretty much like park the ship sort of like 20 metres away from the hive city, and unless someone like had the coordinates or was lucky enough to stumble across it, they wouldn't see it because of how thick this smog is.
Okay, I'll just be like on to Zamael. I found a couple of patches where the actual clouds not quite as thick. Maybe move this ship there and then get into the hive city that way. I don't really fancy walking through this stuff if I don't have to.
No, me neither, and I don't have any better ideas, so just take us there.
Okay.
Yep, you don't have to make a piloting roll for this, so you fly the ship into one of the areas you'd identified as being sort of like less polluted. Now, you know that could change at any time because it's based on the winds and the lie of the land, but at the moment, you've got a better chance in foot slogging across this area than you have in like any other way of approaching the city.
Is there a way of putting on my HUD like a effectively like weather map so I can be alerted if?
Yep, that's absolutely fine. You set it up so that it's like linked to the ship's scanners, which are monitoring the surrounding weather and the winds, etc. So you've got like a little display showing the thicknesses of the clouds on your heads-up display. And you park it.
I'd like to maybe find a tarp or a large piece of tin. What I'm looking for is something to give us a boost just one time. You know, maybe it'll dissolve, but if we got a short sprint, we can hold over our heads like on the run kind of thing.
Okay, so I will say, given all that you guys have found out about this synth skin, you are able to get a tarp and effectively like cover it in a thin coating of the goo. Now, you know from what K2 told you that this goo is obviously capable of surviving the pollution for quite some time because of its adaptive properties. Eventually it will dissolve, but it will certainly like give you a bit better chance if you like put this tarp over yourself and run through than if you sort of strut out.
Okay, so I got my little staff building this thing, and
Indeed.
I'm going to have them all carry it to the exit door when they're ready.
And I would say, if you guys all stick together in a group and you all like huddle under this big top, when I ask you to make the roll for your damage, it will give you a booster dice to that roll.
Yep.
Okay.
Fine with me.
Okay, excellent. So what are you doing then, guys?
Getting under.
Seems like we got to run for it,
shuffle.
make a dash. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the best we can do. Just make a dash for the closest entrance,
Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to ask you,
or
can you all make
safety hatch or whatever.
Can you all make me a resilience roll? The difficulty is 3 purple. Now, you all have 1 blue boost dice because you're under this tarp. However, I'm also going to say that all of you, apart from K2, you also need to add a black setback dice to your roll, because obviously you're having to breathe, whereas K2 isn't.
Does defense come into this at all, John, or is that
No,
separate?
no, that's just like when you're being shot at and attacked and stuff.
Okay, fine. Yep. And
Could we not
resilience
wear like
as well.
a helmet or something just for breath?
If you've got a helmet or a suit that has like an enclosed sort of oxygen supply, yes, you certainly could.
Like a Mandalorian helmet, John?
If given your Mandalorian armor is enclosed, I'll give both of you Mandalorians an additional boost dice.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Did you say 3 purple? Sorry.
3 purple, yeah, and 1 black.
Okay.
What's the roll?
It's
What are we rolling?
resilience.
Okay. Oh boy.
Okay,
Zero.
K2, you're
Here.
fine.
Yikes! I'm afraid.
Oh, Jesus.
It's not you who should be afraid, it's Samira who should be afraid with that roll. Okay, so let me have a look.
Where'd my roll go?
Okay, so Casimir and yourself, Mavi, you take 3 wounds from this toxic soup that you're unfortunately having to breathe in. However, Samir, you take 6 wounds from it.
Does my soak come into play at all?
Not in this case, no, because it's not actually like inside you.
Ow. Okay. Noted. What about the triumph?
Okay, now with the triumph, you managed to find your way pretty much straight to the entrance. So normally you'd have to make like a few rolls to like represent you guys going there, but because of your sort of like your leadership and your sort of direction, you pretty much take them straight there. So you've all only got to make that 1 set of rolls. That's the advantage you're getting from that. However, as you guys arrive outside the entrance to the city, it's effectively like a huge sort of like metal like airlock door. As you arrive outside, you can see there's a man there. He's wearing like a pretty much like an environment suit. He's you can see he's holding what appears to be a large blaster rifle. It's like across his chest. He's like heads down. You can't. He's got like a tinted visor on his helmet, so you can't really see his face. He stood next to the airlock door.
Is he blocking our way? Like
No,
literally, we're standing in the pouring acidic rain.
No, he's just stood next to the door. He's not moved or reacted at all as you guys have approached.
Well, I'm just gonna try and go in. I don't know the protocol.
Okay, you can see there's effectively like a sort of like a palm print, sort of like pad on the side of the door. The door doesn't open automatically as you approach.
So I'm gonna look at the guard. What's the deal here? I'm burning my ass off.
He doesn't respond.
Can I go up and look inside his environment suit, like if there's like a little slit or...
Okay, as you get a bit closer and you peer in, you can sort of like see through the tent, and inside you can see this person's face, effectively the expressions like this.
Right.
Yeah, take a peek, like above his shoulder, and go. You think he's okay?
No, I think he's gone. And I'll just effectively kind of try and pick the majority of him up and point his palm towards the scanner and just kind of slowly silt it towards the door.
Okay, not a problem.
I was just going to cut the hand off.
As you lift him up, you can actually see, sort of like near a bit nearer, you can see there appears to be like a cut in his environment suit. You can tell from your sort of like your practice and your knowledge of weaponry that obviously someone's like jabbed like a sharp bladed implement down into his neck, effectively killing him and puncturing the suit. But yeah, you drag him over, you put his palm on the palm reader. After a few moments, there's a ding, and a green light comes on next to it. There's a and the door hisses open. You can see it's like one of those double airlock chambers beyond. You know, you have to step in, wait for the green light, and then you can go through the next door.
I'll bring him in with us.
Okay. You bring him in, you wait for a few moments, you hear a hiss as like the atmosphere is normalised and a green light flashes on the door opposite you, and there's a as that opens up, and as it does, immediately the noise and the smells of a very active city flood into this area. You can smell engine grease, oil, sweat. You can see there's hundreds of people moving around these wide streets and alleys in front of you. They're all wearing sort of like mechanics clothes and sort of typical like working stuff. They're all smeared with grease. You can see aliens, humans, crowds of people moving around, some of them pushing barrows with like mechanical parts in. You can see a few sort of like standard like worker droids moving about. No one really pays you that much attention. It seems like everyone here is like concentrating on like coming and going and doing their own stuff. They're not bothered about a few more people turning up.
The guy who we carried in, I tuck him to one side of the actual airlock, so like if someone was to open the doors, if there's like a little lip of the doors, they wouldn't just laying there. Like,
yeah, that's absolutely fine. You took him outside.
I'm going to go in. I'm going to just look for a public access panel, or even a "You Are Here" map.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You bring up a map, which is pretty much the one I've shown you guys. I'm going to put you on the map to show you roughly where you are in this hive city. You are in the sort of like the bottom layer of it, which appears to be sort of like the industrial sort of part of it. It's where like all the sort of like the poor people and the workers live. You can see that.
I think we should go. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, you can see that in general, as you look at it, it seems that like the richer you are, the further up this hive city you live, and effectively in the sort of upper hive area, which is above the smog cloud, that's where all the like really rich and powerful people live, because they've got places where you can actually look out and see the night sky and see the stars, rather than just sort of like seeing smoggy death that everyone else can see when they look out the windows.
Nice. One thing I was going to say quickly, survival, would that cover kind of tracking? Because would we see any kind of dusty, smoggy footprints leaving the airlock? I'm assuming this droid came in the same way.
Okay, as you look around, you can indeed see a trail of footprints, but they only carry on for a short distance. Then obviously whatever sort of like mud was sticking to the feet of the person coming through is either dried or it's sloughed off, and the footprints are sort of lost, because there's obviously so many, like hundreds of people moving around. People have been like tramping around this area and all over them. But you're pretty sure that your target has come in this way.
Hey, Cass, do you think there'd be any
Yeah.
surveillance around this area? Because if you could bring it up, it's passed through here. I can see its footprints. Maybe we could at least see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Yeah, it's a good idea, except we don't know what it looks like, and if it looks like a people, well, there's a lot of people here, but yeah, okay. So I'm going to do
so
that.
many people who came out of the airlock.
Okay, make me a computer.
That's a good point.
Make me a computer's roll, difficulty 3 purple, Casimir.
Got it. Don't need that black. Purple computers. Big bucks.
Okay, so ignoring that black dice, because that shouldn't be there, you would have
Why is it?
what I don't know why it's doing that at the minute, but I can easily take it off, and you should have one success with that removed. So it takes you a while, but after a while you are able to hack into the sort of local feed. It's fairly sort of basic and grainy, like CCTV style footage, since this is the sort of like the poorer area of the Hive City that you're in. However, as you watch on this grainy, flickery display that you've like downloaded to your data pad, you see what appears to be the airlock open about maybe 15-20 minutes before you guys got here. You see a figure walk in. He's wearing like a sort of generic like environment cloak. He's quite muscular, probably about 6.5 feet tall. He walks in, and at one point his face does turn towards one of the cameras, and you see what appears to be a human-looking face. He has some sort of slight burn marking on his face, you presume from the atmosphere outside. He has sort of like short cut brown hair. He looks fairly nondescript. He doesn't seem to be carrying anything other than this like cloak he's got over his shoulders.
Well, if he's headed for the governor, that means we got to go up, up, up. I sure hope the elevators are working.
Yeah, let's do it quickly.
Okay, so are you guys just planning on sort of hightailing it up to the top of the Hive City as quickly as you can?
Absolutely. We
Samil,
should really ideally get there like before droid. Yes.
Samir, do you have any? Can you call this governor? Like, can you contact him? Is there a comms or anything like that? We could at least warn him, so we can.
Good question. Do I have any sort of contact information?
You don't have any sort of direct contact information. Obviously, like communicating with him over an unsecured line could be very dangerous. However, there are sort of like public comm systems dotted around here that you could potentially use. Obviously, you'd have to try and convince like whoever you spoke to, because you wouldn't speak directly to him first of all, that you needed to speak to him without giving away that you're from the rebellion. But you could certainly give it a go.
I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. So as you get on the comm systems, you see a rather bored-looking official wearing a sort of standard like grey uniform. Says, Governor Moss's office.
I try to put on. Obviously, I do have my own accent, and I can't really simulate an imperial accent. But Samir will try to put on his best imperial accent and say, "Good morning. This is Colonel Samir Croth. I wish to speak to the governor. I believe he's expecting my call."
Do you have an appointment?
I was told he is expecting my call. I can try to make a leadership check. Try to sound imperious enough to make this credible.
Okay, I would say this is going to be more a deception check because you're effectively trying to bluff your way past them. But
Fair enough.
You can certainly make a roll for that. The difficulty is 3.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, you guys mind if I flip at the destiny point?
Nope.
Go for it.
3, and I upgrade my own check because I am not very good at the deception side of social skills, but here goes nothing.
If I knew.
Yes!
Okay, so you've not only got a success, but you've also got a triumph. So you're that convincing that you pretty much browbeat the person and say, oh, well, it's obviously their fault that you're not in the appointment book, and you're going to have to speak to Governor Moss about this like lamentable lack of efficiency in their department. And you basically imply that like if they don't sort you out, you're going to get them sacked because you're like that with Governor Moss. After a while, the official looks like very worried, and you see like beads of sweat breaking out on his forehead, and he's like, "Oh well, I'm sure there's no need for any of that. It must just be a simple oversight." So, what name did you say it was again, sir?
Colonel Samir Croft.
Colonel Samuel Crafter. Yes, hold on a second. I believe the governor is quite busy at the moment, but I'll see if he's ready, if he can take a quick call. But please hold, at which point the screen goes blank and you see like the sort of Imperial logo revolving. A few moments later...
I give him the thumbs up while we were waiting.
Indeed. A few moments later, a sort of regal-looking man wearing a gold filigreed tunic with a brown beard and short-cut brown hair appears on the screen. You recognise Governor Moss from the pictures you were shown when you were sent on this mission. It appears on the screen and he says, "This is Governor Moss. Am I speaking to a Colonel Craft?"
That is correct. Glory to Moff Tarkin, Governor.
As you say that, his eyes narrow a bit, and he says, "Yes, indeed, a stalwart member of the Empire." Now, Colonel, I believe what we had to discuss is of a somewhat sensitive matter. I'm sending you over the digits for my private line. If you'll please switch over. In a few moments, we can conduct our business with a little more privacy.
Perfect, I will do that.
You switch over, there's a brief flare of static on the screen, then it cuts back to the leader of the planet, the Governor Moss. And he says, "What can I do for you? It's a bit dangerous even talking on this secured line. I know I'm being watched heavily. I think if the Empire thought they could get rid of me without causing riots and work strikes here, they'd have done so long ago." But,
let me interrupt you there, Governor. That is why I'm calling you. We believe there is an assassin droid on the planet on its way to kill you.
An assassin droid?
I hand him the data pad with the picture of him. Like I hand it to Samir, I mean.
Right. So I take the data pad and we have data. We have a picture of this droid, and we are on your way to your mansion as we speak.
You show him the picture, and he says, "But I don't understand. I thought you said a droid."
Long story. It is a droid in a fairly sophisticated disguise.
I see. I presume you have some plan to prevent this. Although it seems a strange move by the Empire, just assassinating me. I mean, after all, that would just simply cause the problems that just removing me would cause anyway.
Well, I cannot question that, but do you think that is entirely out of their palette of methods?
No, I suppose you're right. As I say, I presume you have a plan to prevent this.
Well, not a plan as such, but as I said, we are on your way to your mansion. So, two things. Either you can grant us access so we can protect you, or we can extract you from the planet.
Well, if the Empire knows that I've been working for the rebellion and they've decided to make a move, I will need extracting from the planet. But obviously, my immediate concern is this damn droid they're sending. I mean, of course, I'm sending you a priority access code for using the lifts throughout the Hive City. It'll allow you access even to the upper levels, but I can't just stroll down to one of my own vessels, get into it, and tell my people I'm off on a little jaunt. If I do that, I'll raise suspicion, and no doubt this assassin will accelerate their plans. But yes, if you can get me off this planet, I would be very grateful.
Right. Okay. So obviously you have a better knowledge of how things go on in your own home. So what do you suggest? Also, my suggestion would be, since I just showed you the picture, just get your stuff, your security stuff, to delay or slow down this assassin by any means necessary.
Of course, I'll tell my staff that I'm in a private meeting. I'm not to be disturbed by anyone. with regards to you getting up here, I suggest you head directly towards the central core. There are elevators there that run the entire height of the Hive City. I'm going to put in an official report as soon as I get off the comms with you, saying that there have been some power fluctuations in my office that I vitally and need repairing with priority 1 clearance. If you get to the elevator and anyone tries to stop you, tell them that you're dealing with that call. I'll send you the codes through on this link, and then the priority clearance I've given you should enable you to use the elevator to head directly to the top of the Hive City into my offices.
Perfect, Governor. And how do we get you out?
There, I'm afraid I can't be much help. Do you have a ship of any kind? I do have a private landing pad, but as I say, if I try and make it to one of my own ships, I don't know whether they've been compromised, and I'll certainly raise suspicion. And to be honest, I'm no pilot myself. I have people to do that sort of thing.
Okay, wait for our arrival. We'll be there as soon as we can, and then we'll extract you with your own ship. I think that's the most sensible, because even if you raise suspicions, you do have the clearance codes to get us out of here fast.
Yes, of course. I mean, the ship's nothing special. It's simply a cruise liner. It's very comfortable, but it is made for pleasure cruise. It's not a military vessel or anything like that.
It will have to do.
Understood. Well, I'm going to seal myself in my office and set my guards on alert. I'll file the report shortly. By the time you get to the core elevators, the report will be in that I need some emergency technical assistance in my office.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to mute my comms and just turn to the group and ask anything to add.
I just shake my head. No, let's get up there.
No, I think we need to get up there as quickly as possible.
Okay, so I activate my microphone again and just go, hang tight, Commander. We are on our way.
Thank you, and may the force be with you. And he signs off. Okay, at this point, at
that I actually have a little chuckle to myself, but whatever tickles his bells.
Okay,
I don't think that's
at this point, what I'm going to do is to represent you guys trying to get up to the governor before this assassin can get to him. I'm effectively going to ask one of you, and it's up to you guys to pick which one it is, to basically make me... It's probably going to be an athletics role, since you're sort of like moving physically. Now, I am going to say that you will get 2 booster dice to this, because you've got the access codes, you've got the priority clearance, so... But it's up to you guys to pick which one of you has the best chance, and you'll be doing a roll-off versus the assassin. Whoever gets the best roll gets to the governor first.
2 yellow, 2 green athletics.
Yeah, it crushes me.
You're it. That's massive athletics.
I am a yellow and the
Go
green,
for it.
so go for it.
Okay. So you say I get 2 boost dice with this, John.
Indeed. There's no difficulty because you're just rolling again. Actually, no, on a second. The difficulty will be set by... We'll just have you do 1 roll, but the difficulty will be based on the score of... the ability score of the assassin. So rather than do 2 rolls, we'll just have you do the 1 roll. The difficulty is going to be 3 purple and 1 red.
Whoa.
Because this thing is
Okay.
serious when it comes to assassinating people.
Okay, well, here we go, guys. Good luck. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, no problems. So you guys head to the sort of central elevator, and you head. You are a few people try and stop you along the way, but you give them the codes. You tell them about the report, and you're quickly allowed access to the elevators. When you get up to Governor Moss's sort of palatial quarters, this mansion in the upper part of this hive city. And as you're moving up, you can almost see, like, each floor you go up, everything gets slightly cleaner, slightly more opulent looking. So by the time you get up to the top levels, it's all like white marble, like floors, gold filigree everywhere. It's like you're walking through like an ancient Greek palace rather than the sort of urban hellhole you've been trudging through for most of it. As you head out, following your schematics to the governor's mansion, you can see that standing outside the front door are what appear to be half a dozen guards, all holding blaster rifles. They're wearing this grey uniform with the planetary security insignia on it.
I'm going to walk up to them flipping a spanner, like flip, flip, flip. Well, you going to let us in? We're here to fix it.
One of the guards nods, he reaches up, presses like an intercom button next to himself, and he says, Governor Moss, there's a technical crew reporting here. Shall we let them in? You hear Governor Moss's voice coming, sort of slightly hissing, coming over the intercom, saying, yes, of course, I'm having terrible problems with my electrics, and all my machinery is malfunctioning. I'm never going to be able to submit my monthly reports if I don't get them in and get it repaired. Show them in, man. Show them in. At which point, yes, Governor, yes, sorry. Please go in, he says, turning around to you, and he presses a palm print on the door. The door hisses open, and you see basically this like large sort of like palatial quarters beyond it. There's like a little swimming pool. There's like a hollow transmitter on the desk. It's basically like a combination of an office and like the Playboy Mansion is what it looks like as you walk in there. You can see Governor Moss is sort of like sat on a large divan in the corner of the room, but in contrast to his opulent surroundings, he looks sort of like quite worried. You can see that again, he's like a little bit sweaty. You can see like where like sweat has like been soaking through his uniform and his armpits, etc. He's obviously quite worried. He says, that'll be all, guards. Please come in. I need you to look at this problem. And then as soon as like the door hisses shut, his voice changes and he says, oh, good. I'm glad you make it. I was worried you weren't going to be able to get up here before that droid or whatever got to me.
Yeah, any sighting of it?
No, we've had no word so far.
Okay.
I'd like to try and scan him. And what I want to be able to do is project a 3D holographic image of him, even if it's a still picture.
Yeah,
it might work as a brief distraction in case the assassin shows up.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So you quickly run your scanner over him. He says, my ship is through there, and he gestures, and you see, like, presses a button on the divan next to him, and you see the doors hiss open as like a platform open to the fresh, clear air up here beyond the door, and you see there's like this small sort of little pleasure barge on his own sort of like private docking area. Well, there she is. I know she's not much to look at, but she's fairly speedy. Although, as I say, she's a cruise ship. She doesn't have much in the way of weaponry or anything like that.
It's probably a lot quicker to do that than to try and get you back to our ship. But our ship might be a little bit better. I don't know. What do you think, Captain?
I think our ship might be a little bit too melted to pull this off.
Samir,
Aye.
if we're taking this guy with us, is there any reason we could potentially try and hold his usefulness within the Imperials? If we take him and they know we've just taken him out, it'll look like he's an informant and he's come over with us. If we make this look like a kidnapping, is that something worth doing?
I don't know. If they send an assassin droid after him, I think the charade is without a point at this time.
Okay, at this point, can I ask you all to make me perception rolls, difficulty 2 purple?
No.
Oh, I.
Okay, that's K2. Okay, so everyone else is busy talking, but Mavi, you're stood sort of like closest to the door, and with obviously all the enhanced like sensors in your like Mandalorian armor, etc., you can just about hear like the guards sort of like talking on the just beyond the door. And as you're listening, you hear one of the guards say, "Governor, but I thought, but I've just seen you. You're in."
Can I start loading effectively one of each rocket into my pistol?
Yeah, that's fine. Now, obviously, you guys don't hear the guard going, "Oh, Governor, but I thought you were inside. What's going on?" However, you do hear the.
Yeah, I'll start walking backwards from the door and say, "It's here."
I'm going to slap my data pad down on the governor's desk, projecting this image of him sitting behind the desk, maybe writing or something like that. Then I'm going to grab the governor and then haul his ass towards the ship.
Okay, no problem. You slap down.
That is perfect, because that is what I was going to tell you.
Yeah, you slap down the hologram. You're loading your rockets. You all start hauling ass towards the ship. K2, what are you doing? Are you hauling ass with them?
No, I'm doing the rear guard action here. So I'm going to be waiting when the droid, supposedly the droid, comes in. So I want to be like around a corner or something. So like watching everyone go, covering their backs.
Okay. You hear the sound of something being... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to draw my blaster and take cover behind a table, couch, whatever there is.
Okay, no problems. You hear the sound of something being dragged to the door, and then the palm print activates. The door hisses open, and you see what appears to all intents and purposes be Governor Moss standing there. He's wearing pretty much the same clothes that the actual Governor Moss is wearing as Cassimy's like hauling him towards the ship, but he's got this travelling cloak with like a hood thrown over it. But as he walks in, he looks to all intents and purposes exactly like Governor Moss. Okay, you guys were ready for him when he came in. He didn't know you were here, so you guys get to effectively act before him.
For my part, yeah, I'm just going to haul the governors, get them in the freaking ship and start the sequence of that, like get it ready to go.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
As the door opens, just hit him with an ion rocket?
Yep, you certainly can. Make your roll.
Goodbye.
Difficulty, John, or is it just a straight roll?
The difficulty is 2. In fact, no, I'm going to make it. Have I got any dark side points? Let me just have a look.
You have some.
I'm sure I must have some.
You don't need to worry about those, John.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to make it 1 purple and 1 red for the difficulty.
Okay. Here we go.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay, splendid. Now, obviously, because this is important, because it's an ion weapon, I'm just going to look up the effect that has on droids, because I want to make sure I do it right. So just give me a moment.
Couldn't have picked the more ideal time to use that either.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad I had it left.
All right, okay, that's cool. Right, okay, so 12 damage. Obviously, you've now used your ion rocket. So that is gone. And you have inflicted 12, because ion rockets, they inflict system strain rather than wounds, because they're designed to shut droids down, not just blow them up. So what happens is, as this disguised droid walks in, describe how you launch your mini ion rocket at him, and I'll tell you what happens.
Effectively, it's very kind of just tactical military. Just kind of pull back to where K2 is, get down in prone position, ready to fire, kind of line up the shot, and the second the door opens, the missile kind of almost goes through the gap before the doors have even finished opening and strikes it.
Okay, there's this explosion of sort of like blue electricity as this figure steps through the door. You can see that your ion missile has like struck it like directly on the side of the face, and it's actually sloughed off like a portion of this synth skin, and you can see like this metallic sort of almost humanoid looking skeleton underneath, and you can see like a single like glowing red eye looking out of it. Then as it steps forward, you can see this electricity is like arcing all around its body. The red in its eye just suddenly goes, and it just goes and topples forward and hits the deck.
Yeah, we got our own Terminator.
I am not going to trust that it's dead, because effectively we've heard that this is some kind of badass, like, murder droid. And I'll effectively say to, like, K2, like, do you think that's it? Or should we hit it again?
Keep hitting.
I will determine further danger. Please wait, and I'm gonna approach the electrified droid.
As he approaches, I will just shout, just so you're aware, my next shot will be explosive.
This is fine. I am equipped with ablative padding for explosive and decompression situations.
Okay.
Right. Since he's moving, I'm not going to take a shot at this point, but I keep my weapons solidly aimed at the droid's head.
Okay. Do you have any melee defense score?
Moi?
Yes.
1.
Okay. So, goes. Okay, so
The 800 droid.
as you move towards this droid, as you get near it, you suddenly see the light in its eye come back on, and like a large sort of data spike comes out of its arm that it tries to like jam into the side of your skull, basically. But because it's still sort of like struggling and its auto repair systems are trying to like fight off this ion blast, it sort of swings very clumsily, and you're easily able to just like rock backwards, and it misses you.
Can I tell that it was like blatantly trying to just hack me?
Indeed.
Or
you know that the sort of like the data spike that's come out of it, typically they're used to like reprogram sort of like droids that have malfunctioned. They're punched like directly into the sort of central cortex of the droid, and they can then sort of like format it and like restore its original programming.
right. Okay. Are we in initiative order, or?
Well, I'm just effectively freeballing it, 'cause it's effectively it's like lying on the ground. Unless you get right close to it, it's not much of a threat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I would say to our comms, like, you need to keep running. This thing has some self repairing mechanisms, and it is a danger. It might reprogram me as well.
Let's see if I can do something about that. I'm going to take a shot.
Okay, so make your shot. I'm going to effectively say there is no difficulty for this roll, because it's like on the ground, it can't move. So it's just your straight roll, and we'll see what damage you do to it.
Because I was aiming, can I get a blue on that?
You most certainly can.
Yes. So this would be combat. There we go.
Okay, okay, that's absolutely fine. Just let me note the damage. Okay, so you fire your blaster carbine at it and pretty much sort of like blow it in half, so it's like legs and torso are lying in like separate areas. You can see it's still like sort of twitching spasmodically, but you can now see more of its like inner workings, this sort of like metallic skeleton are exposed. It's still like twitching, but it hasn't actually like moved. Like I say, you've just blown its legs off.
I'm standing on the on ramp.
Yep, you've got the ship good to go. You are good to go. You've literally got to get in, punch the button, and you are out of there. The governor's already on board.
Come on. Right. Come on. Good guys saved, bad guys dead. It's not going to be long before someone comes sniffing around what that explosion was about. Let's go. Oh no, Sammy, go take all the glory for yourself. Oh, okay.
He came to get out of there.
Yeah. Can I effectively fire off a retreating rocket?
Yeah. If you guys want to withdraw to the ship and then start fire one out the door, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's not a problem. So is the plan that you guys are going to jump in the ship, fire off a rocket at this thing, and then get the hell out of Dodge? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, in which case I'm not going to make you make a roll for that, because you guys will easily make it to the ship while it's like, it's got no legs, so you'll easily make it to the ship. So as you guys jump on the ship, you sort of like, you fire your, I'm presuming you're firing like an explosive incendiary rocket or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You basically like lean out of the door as the ship's taking off and pulling away. You fire one of your rockets. There's this huge explosion of fire and smoke fills the governor's office. Then, just as you're sort of like you're lifting off and you're taking off, you see this torso of this like robot like pulling itself out of the smoke, and it makes a last desperate attempt to like launch itself and grab hold of the door of your ship as you're lifting up. Now this is going to be ridiculously difficult, so I'm going to make it make a roll because it might fail and just like plummet down to an ignominious doom. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, we have a light side point left. Why don't we upgrade his check?
Yeah, you can certainly do that if you want to spend your light side point.
We're all standing there with sticks trying to push him away.
So if one of you,
I was going to send the bots out.
okay, so that'll upgrade it to 2 purple and a red. So I'll make him make his roll.
Oh no!
He is determined.
Okay, so this thing launches itself through the air, which is in itself impressive given the fact it's got no legs, and it manages to like grab one of its now sort of metal skeletal hands on the sort of doorway that you're like stood in, and it's hanging below you, Mavi, just like this torso, and you can see this like single red eye and the scarred bits of its flesh glaring up at you as it's obviously trying to like lift itself up.
I was like,
Can I send the droid out like with a laser torch to just
Yeah.
cut him off? Yeah.
like it's on the ship. It's still on the ship.
Okay, so you're like, it's still on the ship, and as you say that, you hear a voice from behind you say, "Excuse me, please, sir."
I'll just like instinctively and politely step to the side, not knowing what's going on.
You step to one side, and one of these like featureless white worker droids that Casimir has brought with her steps forward. It calmly sort of like detaches a welding torch from its utility belt, and it just goes and like cuts through the arm of this droid, and you just watch as it's sort of still with this red eye as it plummets down into the cloud of pollution below, and the last thing you see is this red speck of its eye as it disappears through this thick cloud layer.
Awesome, good call. Can I just kind of do the whole Terminator 2 kind of pry the remains of the hand off and just chuck it with it?
Perfect. Goes with the eye going black.
Yep.
Not a problem, you certainly can do. What's your defense score?
Oh.
It's going to reprogram your brain.
My defense score is 1.
Okay. Okay, as you go to prise the hand off, the hand, almost like a sort of like spider, suddenly flexes, springs up, and it like clasps into your throat. You would normally take a wound, but obviously your armor can like deal with that.
Yeah.
So it's basically like clamped onto your neck, but it's not got through your armor. You can feel the strength in it. You can like hear the sound of your like armor plating like creaking as it squeezes your neck.
I'm gonna go beep 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 and see if the droid can help him just like pry the fingers.
Now, just to be
Heat 'em
clear,
up, maybe?
because obviously these droids, they can only take fairly simple commands. What is the exact command you give to the droid?
Don't say cut it off. Don't say cut it off.
Yeah,
There
I'll
is a
say
droid with more complex.
pry it open. I'll say pry it open.
Okay, not a problem. The
Referring
droid,
to the hand.
yeah, the droid, yeah, it's not that dumb. The droid grabs hold of the hand and like pulls it off your throat. You can see the droid just sort of like stood there next to it. It's trying to like hold on to this like hand that's like wriggling about.
Now the droid's got the hand. Can I grab hold of the whole droid and just throw it off the ship?
Yeah, I'm saying you don't need to grab
command
hold.
it to suicide anyway.
You don't even need to grab hold of it. You just like kick it in the chest, and this droid, like with the hand, just like tumbles down into the cloud. You have escaped the assassination droid.
I'll just be kind of like rubbing my neck and pushing the button to shut the door.
Yep, there's a as the door shifts.
I turn to him and say, "I like your thinking."
Thanks.
As many droids as we have disposed of just now, I am delighted to remain on the ship.
Welcome aboard, buddy. Welcome aboard.
I'm finally happy to get an upgrade. I like my new ship.
Okay.
I'm not dead.
And as you guys hit the thrusters on the pleasure barge of Planetary Governor Moss, you head up into the atmosphere of the planet of Zamael VI, and soon you are heading into open space beyond it. As the music begins to play and the credits begin to roll, you make sure that Governor Moss is safely secured. You send out an encrypted comm signal to the waiting rebel fleet, and you are given coordinates to a meeting point where they will pick you up and take Governor Moss into their custody effectively. And as you head off into open space, like I said, the credits begin to roll. You have successfully rescued Governor Moss and gained an important source of Imperial intelligence for the rebellion. Once again, the Flying Aces have proven their mettle under strenuous circumstances, and the efforts of the rebellion against the evil empire will surely benefit from your actions here today. And that is where we draw the session to a close, guys. Thank you very much for playing. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
It was fantastic.
Yep.
Okay.
Great fun.
Loved it, John, and thanks everyone else. Really, really good.
As always, I'm happy to chat for a while afterwards. But just to say to anyone who's watching this in the future when I've uploaded it, thank you very much for watching. This has been Star Wars Destroyer of Worlds using the FFG Age of Rebellion system and a somewhat buggy Roll20 sheet. But never mind. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we will see you all soon. Take care.